Any referee who was traveling will proceed and do the same. Any official who was organizing any matches will continue to do the same. We shall remain in charge because it's an illegal act, and football will be played over and through this weekend. I want to be very clear about that point.
He says the Federation has opened its doors to being investigated and that attempts to dialogue with the minister have fallen on deaf ears. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, so how is the traffic looking like this morning? At about 7 minutes after 6, well, the roads that are expected to be busy are busy. Mombasa Road coming into town from Syokimau, coming up to North Airport Road, and City Cabanas Junction is busy at Syokimau. And then Thika Road is already starting to build up around the Pangani area. Coming to towards town at South Sea, where there is a narrowing of the road, is also getting busy. Langata Road and other parts of the other roads also in the city are not so busy yet. Let's see how they'll be looking like in about half an hour. Good morning.
No, you know, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, this resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Martin, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Martin, Ainamoi.
Yes.
Sasa
ile chuma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende.
Oh, wow.
Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
How are you doing?
The only way.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Wait a minute. I have a seat here that's just moving by itself. Hold on. Yeah. Yes. Yes, like that. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody, wherever you're tuned in this lovely Friday morning. It's the 12th day of November 2021. In the room this morning is Eric Latiff. Maybe City will come in. Maybe not. Ndu Okoh will definitely not come in today. She is a little bit under the weather, but she hopefully will be okay by Monday. Kenya's biggest conversation must continue, though. We have a lot of conversations to have today. So, what's happening in the country, around the world, when it's COP26 coming to an end? So, we see the era of Mr. Nick Mwendo at FKF is coming to its end, and we have a new team that's been appointed by the Cabinet Secretary for Sport to be like a caretaker team looking into football issues in the country. What else is happening as we go into the weekend, the politics of the weekend? Is Raila welcomed in Ukambani? Or is Kalonzo feeling that, no, he ought not to be? And then we'll have a conversation about retirement and saving for retirement, okay? So we'll be having a guest in the studio this morning who will talk to us about this. And this is the head of pensions at UAP All Mutual, Christine Karoki, who will join us at 8 to talk about the importance of saving for retirement. Now, how many people actually just think about saving for retirement, but how much? And when you talk about saving for retirement, how much are we talking about? How do you start planning? We've had a conversation with the Retirement Benefits Authority. Now we're having a conversation with one of the registered retirement benefit schemes and people who run Old Mutual. UAP Old Mutual will be here at 8 o'clock. City is in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Eric.
Mambo namna gani?
Jambo mingi sana. Wewe mzima?
Niko mzima, salama.
That is very good.
Yes.
Yes. Afya yako?
Afya yangu ni njema. Nashukuru Mungu.
These are very good things.
Nashukuru Mungu.
We nashukuru Mungu?
Yes.
No, Mungu likes being shukurud.
We don't take life and health for granted.
Actually, that is the one thing you cannot afford to do. Because what is it that makes you different from other people whose health isn't as good as yours? What is it that you think you have done that you deserve, that makes you deserve better health? And what do you think they have done so as not to deserve better health? Yes, so you are absolutely right. We do not take it for granted, and we must be grateful, and we must state that gratitude openly so that it is heard and understood.
Right.
Yes.
Indeed. So many conversations to have today. Let's begin with the COVID-19, looking at COVID-19 in numbers. So far, globally, we have 5,095,000 deaths, 5,095,000 deaths globally. And the total number of confirmed cases since the beginning of time on coronavirus is 252 million cases. That's a huge number. What is our Ministry of Health telling us in terms of the number of vaccines that we have in the country and all? Let me just look at that for you and tell you shortly. According to the MOH Kenya, we so far have 9.763 million vaccines received in the country. Total vaccinations conducted so far 5.8 million. Those that have received the first dose, only 3.8 million. Second dose, 1.97 million. That's about 7.2% of the proportion of adults who are fully vaccinated. Second dose is 48.2% of those that have received the first jab have received the second jab, and that is a good thing. Looking at the counties and how they are doing, Nairobi, of course, is the highest county in the number of vaccines administered, followed by Kiambu, followed by Nakuru, followed by Nyeri at 30%. And then we have other counties that are doing not so well. For example, we have 4.9% vaccine uptake in Kilifi County, 5.6% in Kisii County, 4.4% in Isiolo County. Wajir, 1.5%. Only 5,000 people have received the COVID vaccine in Wajir. And this is something that needs to be looked at even by the ministry. And they see, what do we need to do to improve our vaccine uptake? Yep. The number of cases now in the country. Yesterday we had 94 new COVID-19 cases from a sample size of 6,700. A positivity rate of 1.4%. We had 38 recoveries recorded yesterday and 1 death recorded yesterday. The cumulative tests that we've done in the country so far, only 2.7 million tests done in the country so far. And how many people have died in the country so far? 5,315 people have died from COVID-19.
You know, I've gotten to a point where when the government talks about targets, 10, 5, whatever million, I focus on just the numbers that we have managed to vaccinate and look at the progression. I take it that when they set those targets, it is fulfilling a need that they have, but I'd rather let the numbers speak for me. And so long as they're increasing and more Kenyans are getting vaccinated, I tell myself we are making some progress. Because the anticipation of this great leap that the government seems to promise, it doesn't quite take place the way it is presented. Yes. And you also get the impression it won't take place. So it'll take place in its own time. So it has its rhythm.
It has its rhythm.
Yeah, so that rhythm is what I'm tuning into and saying, oh, we've got more vaccines. It is good. Because you also realize that the moment you brought in a diversity of vaccines, what people then do is they decide what they want to be vaccinated with. If there's no AstraZeneca, then they don't want to be vaccinated. They're waiting for AstraZeneca. Others, no, they want Johnson & Johnson. So let that thing play out. Let people get vaccinated as and when they want to get vaccinated, and let life go on.
But there's something alarming here in terms of when you see a county like Wajir has only 5,000 people who've been vaccinated, right? So you ask, how much effort is being put into supplying the vaccines to the people? Or are they dealing with this? And plus, if you look at the counties, Kilifi County with 38,000, that's 4.9% of the population that's gotten vaccines. Is it an issue of availability? Is it an issue of people in Kilifi selecting which vaccine they want? Or is it them not having access to the vaccine at all?
Access here is closely tied into the knowledge of where it is you can get the vaccine. Because the thing that you will find is common in many cases, yes, the vaccine arrives at a certain central position within the county, okay? Thereafter, you're not very certain whether it is cascaded down to other health facilities which are nearer to the people. You don't know. Now, so long as you don't know, that's why I said, there are health services being provided by counties. This is a devolved function, okay?
Yes.
Now, if we know that the vaccines have gotten to the county, now that one, let the county explain to us why it is that people are not being vaccinated.
Yeah. That's why the questions need to be directed, right?
Yes. That is not a Ministry of Health discussion anymore. Yes. They've got the vaccination to the county. County, please tell us what it is you're doing. And
what are you doing in the vaccines?
Yes.
When they come to you?
Yes.
18 minutes after 6, let's take a quick break. Take a look at the weather forecast for Nairobi, other parts of the country and other parts of the world. And then we will be looking at the newspaper headlines shortly. We are already live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. And we are seeing very many people already tuned in and saying they are online. Say hello. I'll be saying hello to you shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here. Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so it was a kind of mixed kind of day yesterday in Nairobi. It was raining in some parts, it was sunny in some areas. Today, we're going to have a mostly clear day at highs of 27 and lows of 16. Mombasa, mostly sunny day, highs of 32 and lows of 24. In Eldoret, clear skies at 25 and lows of 13. Kakamega, clear skies at 29 and lows of 15. Nakuru is 15. Currently, clear skies at 28 and lows of 14. Mostly cloudy day in Nyeri at 25 and lows of 14. Malindi, mostly sunny day at 31 and lows of 25. Kisumu, clear skies at 30 and lows of 20. Now, what do you expect to see in Kampala, Uganda? Mostly clear skies at 29. In Nigeria, Lagos, mostly clear skies at 31. In Kinshasa, DRC, light rains at 33. In Dar es Salaam, cloudy day at 32. In London, the UK, partly cloudy day at 15, and New York, clear skies at 16.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
All right, at
Spice
21
FM,
minutes after
Nairobi.
6, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I can see people are already tuned in. Dixon Wanyangu says, kutoka Busombi County, Kakamega, niko ndani. Victor Saropoulos, greetings from Mombasa Road. Mama Taifa, leo amechorea. Yeah, Ndu is a Mama Taifa.
Well, we live in London, don't we?
Leo amechorea, yes. Dixon, Abel Kabinga listening in from Landy Hills, Ben Apudo, good morning. Spice from Mariakani, locked in. Charity Maina from Milimani Estate in Nakuru, good morning. David Carrier was Subukia, well, he's in Subukia. Michael Gona, getting you well and clear in Malindi, Kenya. Ango Roni from Bungoma is tuned in. Benson Mumu in Mombasa is tuned in as well. Daktari Yusuf says, morning, already tuned in from Nairobi. Good morning, Daktari. Stanley Gashastan, greetings from Juja Farm. That's Kilimambogo view, he calls it. FIFA bans international matches at two stadium in Kenya. Amina dismantles FKF. Doom. Well, there's a lot that's happening in terms of football and sports in the country. We'll discuss that shortly. Geoffrey Muchama, Kibos, is tuned in. Jamal Nanjakululu, greetings from Chakata, Kakamega County. Ever heard of Chakata?
No, actually I haven't.
It's in Kakamega County.
Is it now?
Yes. And that's where Jamal Nanjakululu is. Vincent Tagutu is following. Eric Ogindo is in Kisumu. Bay de Asli. Well, Bay, one day you are in the Asli, another day you are Bay de Macha. Okay, well, you're always in Macha anyway. Good stuff. Welcome everybody to Kenya's biggest conversation. City. Today's proverb.
From Cumberland?
Yes.
Yes, it is 2 words. Muyu Ndwalasia.
Muyu Ndwalasia.
Joy does not ache.
Muyo Ndwalasia.
Yes.
Utamu haina
uchungu.
Haina uchungu. Tamu si chungu.
Yes.
All right.
You know, when you look through proverbs that are associated with the Kamba people, they are some of the most cryptic proverbs. You read when you wonder, hey,
what does this
one mean? What can it possibly mean? And then you look, some of the proverbs, you will find somebody has taken the time to actually explain it. And you still can't connect. So you realize, no, somebody who speaks the language would be able to give you the background to this and why it is that it is being said the way it does. Okay? Because explanation usually is a line or two. But sometimes there's a history behind it for you to understand it.
Yes.
But it makes for very interesting reading. Very, very interesting reading.
This is an interesting one. Just 2 words.
2 words. Muyu Ndwalasia.
Bas.
That's it.
Somebody who speaks the language, please explain to us what it means. You can just post a message on our Twitter handle, SpiceFMKE, or Facebook, SpiceFMKE. Let's look at the newspaper headlines. Remember, you can get access to the Standard e-paper, standardmedia.co.ke, for only 20 shillings daily. And you have access to a lot of premium content. You have access to games like Sudoku and free crossword puzzle. You also get access to, you know what? 10 days of Standard Media Archives. What are you looking at in the papers?
I am looking at a series of things. And I'll tell you what I settled on. I'm looking at the Siasa column in the Star, and school fires seems to have taken center stage in that discussion, and the politics of promotion and grievances at play. Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm looking at the Business Daily. Homes pay 5 billion more for electricity theft in state deal. Okay. Then I'm looking at, now this is what interested me completely. The Nation headline, "It's our time. Rise of the youth."
Right.
This is the preface now. With big dreams of leadership, youthful aspirants are eyeing positions in next year's elections, banking on support from their peers and hoping to break the jinx of dismal performance in past contests. However, millions of youth who would have voted for the first time in 2022 squandered the chance to register as voters in the recently concluded enrollment.
So youth, we have more youthful people who have come out to express the desire to get into elective politics.
Yes.
And it has many photos I'm looking at.
Yes. Oh, there are many.
Yeah?
Yes, you have governor, women's rep, want to be MPs. My friend, some we even have people want to be president.
Right. Who wants to be president?
There are two. The ones that are featured here, not the only two, the two that are featured. There is a Dorothy Nyang'ori, 32. Okay, she wants to be president. There's a Brian Olwach, a wonder, 33. He also wants to be president in 2022.
Okay. And then there are others who want to be governor and everything.
Yes. You can even, let me just mention a few. Okay, Mombasa, there's a gentleman who's 33 years old. He's called Mohammed Bahayadar. He wants to be governor. There is Dennis Ruto. He wants to be, now this one wants to be Senate. West Pokot, he's 35. Then there's Wesley Rotich, 34. He wants to be Elgeyo Marakwet governor. There's Charles Chwea Matoke, 36. He wants to be Kisii governor. Now, members of parliament, there's no shortage, but what is of interest is just the number of youthful women who want
to get into politics.
Who want to get into politics.
It's interesting. I'm actually looking at now the story itself on page 4 of The Nation. There's a 22-year-old woman called Valentine Otieno who wants to be the next Kisumu woman rep.
Yep.
I'm looking at the ones that are in their 20s. That one is 22.
Yep.
All right. Wants to be Kisumu woman rep. There's a 25-year-old gentleman called Dennis Chege who wants to be the Maragua MP. 28-year-old Winfred Asiko Abuti, Kakamega woman rep. 29-year-old Diaz Kimutai wants to be Bomet East MP. 27-year-old Alan Chesang aspires to be the next senator of Trans Nzoia County.
If you look at the next page, you'll find two younger people. Byron Oginga, 28, wants to be governor of Migori. Okay? Now, then there's Philip Pandey. He wants to be senator Kisumu. You see.
How old?
This guy is 28.
Right. Cynthia Kerubo wants to be Kitutu Chacha South MP at 27.
Yes. Now, you see, this is how it is done. You throw your hat into the ring.
Now, let's talk about, for example, this 22-year-old girl, Valentine Otieno. Okay? I don't know what party she's... have they said the party that she's wants to vie in? No.
No, it doesn't.
So now, this is somebody who then would require a lot of support, financial support, just the nomination fees. I can imagine at 22, you need nomination fees.
Yes, you do.
You need to campaign. You need... A lot of support would be needed. She can crowdfund from other people in the community who would support her bid.
Yes.
But also, if she's a member of a political party, now this is why you look at the political parties. What are you doing as a political party to encourage such people to come in? Waive the fee. Say, if you actually get nominated and we're taking you to the IEBC, we shall pay the fee at the IEBC.
Is that really not what the political parties are supposed to do?
Yeah. Encourage more and more people and say, let's see. What we're seeing is a lot of complaints already and grumblings within the political parties. The UDA, let's just call him party leader. UDA party leader William Ruto was speaking to people before yesterday, and I saw a clip where we were saying, it's about nominations. We are not going to have violence in this party. We are going to have free and fair nominations because there's already concern about nominations, whether there are some preferred candidates.
Yes.
In ODM, that has been the story. Ida Odinga was even being featured the other day, and she was talking about we need to see fairness in nominations. The party leader, Raila Odinga, has talked about fairness in nominations. The conversation that has been in the papers is about, are these nominations really going to be fair, or already are we seeing people who are appearing to be the preferred candidates? Now, you can imagine if a 22, 23, 27, 28, 30, 31, 35, 36-year-old wants to join this fray, and if they're not preferred, what support do they get?
And the question is, who does the preferring?
Yes.
Because at a certain level, it will be the party bigwigs in that particular region, ward, in that particular county. At some level, it will be at the national level. You know, power politics within political parties sometimes is even more vigorous than what we see now playing out when you go to now the national politics. Because people really jostle. And partly it's because if you are a member of a strong political party, it is understood that, and if that party is strong in the region you come from, it is understood that that nomination is, should we say, a near guarantee to actually get in the position you want.
Yep.
But there's something else, Eric.
Uh-huh.
If you look at literature that has been written about what it is people use to determine their preference for political leaders, one of the things that people, it's truly odd, but people tend not to favor their own. Let me explain to you what I mean by their own here. You'll find women not voting for other women.
Uh-huh.
You'll find young people not voting for other young people.
Uh-huh.
You'll find, should you say, middle-aged gentlemen and what? There's something about familiarity and contempt that unfortunately comes into the discussion here.
So fellow youth, for example, will look at this one and say,
no,
surely,
kama mimi.
you can't.
This because they're like me, no. And yet, that is when you ought to get your feet wet. Start early.
Yes.
Then by the time you are in your 30s, my friend, you're seasoned. You got to 40s, you understand this thing well.
You're in the game
You understand it very, very, very well. You started in your 40s, you're going to an early grave.
Too much pressure.
Oh, you're going to an early grave.
You need to get into this game early. Like we saw, the likes of Johnson Sakaja being nominated to Parliament at 27.
No, it's a good time.
Good timing.
Listen to the man talking now. You realize you're talking to a very sensible, very balanced person.
Yeah.
Talk to someone like Edwin Sifuna, who's also a youthful leader.
Yes.
You realize, but they started early.
They started early.
Yes. People forget that Raila's adult life has been in politics. People forget William Ruto's adult life has been in politics. People forget Uhuru Kenyatta's adult life. So what you're seeing is an end product over years and years and years.
Musalia Mudavadi, same.
In fact, I was going to Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo. These people were not baked for an hour yesterday and then presented. No. They've been in the oven for quite some time. People like Wetangula, they've been in the oven for quite some time.
They've been there for a while.
Yes.
27 minutes to 7. Let's take this quick break and take a look at the traffic. We'll be looking at more headlines shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your Telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot
that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I see some reports of an overturned truck at the first corner on ICD Road, Mombasa Road, CBD bound, and somebody says there's diesel on the road. Well, so if you are getting onto the ICD side of the road, heading towards town, please be careful if this report is anything to go by. Let's look at the map and what's happening. It's red outside next to City Cabana's town-bound. Something's happening there as you approach the Imara Daima Bridge, but it's just a City Cabana's. After that, it clears, comes all the way to Capital Centre. And because of the diversion there, obviously there's going to be some snarl up. So there is some issue to look out for. Makadara, there's traffic. As you approach again City Stadium roundabout, there's some traffic. As you approach Mbagathi Way, it's now called what? The Raila Odinga Way. There's traffic. On Thika Road, right there at the Pangani interchange, there's some traffic, but it's not so bad. It's not building up on Thika Road itself. It's not building up on Kiambu Road. So far, it's looking good. Anything else that happens that you think we ought to talk about, please tag us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE and our SMS number 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It continues
Mornings
at 23
done right.
So, Chief Justice Martha Koome wants to lodge an appeal against a High Court ruling. You know which one? The one that said these judges must be appointed within 14 days, failure to which the Chief Justice must swear them in.
Mm-hmm.
So already the Attorney General has lodged an appeal. Now the Chief Justice herself wants to lodge an appeal. And people are asking, so why would you be lodging an appeal?
Mm-hmm. And what is the appeal about?
The intention to appeal means that the Chief Justice does not want to appoint and swear in the judges who are rejected by the President. Through Muma and Kanjama advocates, the CJ has written to the High Court Deputy Registrar to furnish her with typed proceedings of the case and copy of the judgment to enable her file the appeal. Then take notice that the Chief Justice, being dissatisfied with the judgment and decree of the High Court, intends to appeal to the Court of Appeal against the whole of the said judgment and decree. We request to be furnished with the proceedings. Justice Koome joins the Attorney General and the President, who already appealed against the decision and obtained orders stopping her from swearing in the 6 judges until this appeal is determined. Justices Dulu, Musyoka and Wakiaga, in their decision, ordered President Kenyatta to appoint the judges, Joel Ngoge, George Odunga, Agri Muchelule and Weldon Korir, to the Court of Appeal within 14 days, and also directed him to appoint High Court Registrar Judith Omange and Mombasa Chief Magistrate Evans Makori to the Environment and Lands Courts, failure to which it will be deemed that his authority to appoint them has expired and the CJ would do it. Now, the Chief Justice is appealing that requirement on her to appoint them. She says she's dissatisfied. We will see when now they lodge the appeal what they're actually arguing about. But basically what they're saying is dissatisfied. You are taking a responsibility that's been bestowed on the head of state and putting it on me. Is that procedural? To say that I shall appoint, I shall therefore gazette. No appointment happens without gazettement. I shall gazette them, and then I shall appoint them, and then I shall swear them in. Is that procedural, really?
The Chief Justice has good advisors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Because when you take such a matter and you make the subject of discussion legalese, I, as a simple Kenyan, first of all, I'm confused. Saying, oh, okay. So, So when we see the Chief Justice is swearing in the President, Okay. So that one is different from now. The Chief Justice swearing in other judges. Okay, I see. So how is it different? The JSC, yeah, okay, appoint them. The president's supposed to, okay. It's a bit confusing, this one. Say, let's get to court.
Let's go to court.
Yeah, we'll understand it better when it gets to court.
A president is declared winner by the IEBC.
Yeah, it is.
The IEBC gazettes the winner.
Yeah.
And once you've been gazetted as the winner, then the next job now goes to the Assumption of Office Committee, the Chief Justice and the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary. That's their job now to swear in.
But they can't swear in before all these things have taken place. Procedure.
Yeah. Can we say that if IEBC does not gazette the winner,
I
shall determine?
Yes. They have declared the winner but have not gazetted. I, as Chief Justice XYZ, I will determine. No. There's something to be said about procedure, and they need to entrench it so that it becomes tradition. It is good. It is a safety net. So we have certainty about things. You know, this one doesn't work that way. From here, you move here, from here. So there's a safety about it.
There's something to fall back on.
Yes, but when it's vague and it's mishmashed and it's all over the place and not certain what becomes before, that's a recipe for problems.
I think what this matter will bring to the fore is clearing it up. Does the president have the mandate to sit on it?
Yes.
And if he does, for how long? You know, like we know, when a bill is passed in Parliament, it goes to the president. The president has a power and has a mandate to reject and send it back with a memorandum. If Parliament looks at the memorandum and they think, yeah, the president is making sense, they can amend the bill and send it back to him, and he assents to it. If they feel this one, what we wanted is what is going, and they disagree with the president's memorandum, they send it back to him. If he does not assent to it, it becomes law within a certain number of days. So you see, there's a way in which we're saying you can bypass. If the president has delayed in making a decision which has been given to him procedurally, then this takes place. In the matter of appointments, that is still vague. If the JSC forwards names of judges to the president and the president does not appoint for whatever reason, how long can he sit on it? And is there any way out of it? Currently, none. If the president has not appointed, that's it. The person is not appointed.
You know, the position that I often take in such matters is that the more these things go to court, the more I get to understand our constitution. Because, like this, if the president had not
declined,
there are things I wouldn't have understood. Now I do, because it's been in the media, it's been spoken of. People have frosted the mouth over it. So the more you hear of it, the more you get to understand. And we have a situation right now where some more understanding is about to be bequeathed on us.
Yes.
So I look forward to what the appeal court or the appellant courts will come up with in this matter. It is good. It is good. Now, there's something here. Again, it seems to be a Friday for confusion for me. Okay?
Confused Friday.
No, for me it is. For me it is. Because you read something, well, I am reading something, and it's not making sense. According to the Auditor General, Kenya Power is broke. According to them, they are insolvent.
This is an Auditor General report of which year?
This one, my friend, we are speaking.
Current.
Yep.
Read the story.
Let me just read it for
Just
you.
read the story.
Okay? Mr. Kadomu, some of the reform measures instituted by the company in financial year 2021 appear to have yielded little result in improving its financial position. Okay? Let me say, the board of directors and the management in the past and in the year under review indicated strategic initiatives that were being undertaken to improve the financial results as of June 30th, 2021. As further stated, this condition, along with other matters as set forth, indicates existence of material uncertainty that may cast significant doubt on the company's ability to continue going on as a going concern. Yes. Now, let me explain to you where the confusion comes in. Saying, if you look at remedial measures that have been put in place, you look at the performance, the realization of some of these goals, and the outcomes, they do not paint a rosy picture for the viability of this concern, of this entity. But let me now tell you what I think, what I find confusing, all right? The government is said to owe Kenya Power 11.9 billion for managing the rural electrification networks. Owes, meaning government has not paid Kenya Power. Okay? Kenya Power apparently also bounced back from a net loss last year, okay, of 939 million Kenya shillings. Okay? Are you listening to me or should I? Okay.
So they moved from what? From a net loss
of 1.4 billion.
Right.
And they brought it to 939.
Okay.
So they reduced
their loss.
Yes. Okay. Then they also posted an 8.4 rise in revenue electricity from 125 billion. Okay. And the operating costs also fell down because to 7.97 billion. All right.
Okay. So they are selling more and they are managing their costs.
But now you've gotten my confusion.
So
if this trend continues, how then do they become insolvent?
Maybe she's saying that they currently need an urgent bailout. Is that what
that
the story
is what they're saying, that they need a bailout. And I'm wondering, but have people stopped using electricity? Have they stopped gaining revenue?
No, the thing is, do they have operating capital?
Yes.
Because if they don't have operating capital, then they're broke.
They have operating capital because of, you see, operating costs fell. Now, if operating costs fell, it means that whatever you collect,
if you've posted,
there's more remaining for you to use.
If you've posted such a huge net loss, right? So you have sold power, you've gotten the money, then you have used it for operations, all of this, and you're still at a loss. It means what? You're cash poor.
Yes.
If you're cash poor, then going into the next year, you need cash, man.
That's what I'm questioning. That's what I'm questioning. How certain are we
that they're cash poor?
Yes, this is a monopoly, buana. Okay? It's not as though there's somebody nipping at their heels and selling cheap electricity.
Probably now that is what makes the sense for. Give them a capital injection, some cash injection, that they're able to operate, and as they move back towards clawing back on the loss.
That, I think, is a good thing. Have they not received cash injections before?
Kenya Power? When was the last time they received a cash injection?
I don't remember personally. Just asking, because out of ignorance.
I know KQ has received.
No. KQ gets it all the time. In fact, KQ's on a permanent drip. Okay?
And you see, that's why they're receiving. They get the cash injection because operating capital, you don't have cash to operate.
KQ was bound to have a problem because the planes weren't flying. People weren't moving. That understood. Kenya Power doesn't own planes. They own electricity. And that electricity they sell. People use electricity. I'm simply saying...
They need to maintain the lines. They need to build new lines. They need to buy transformers and meters.
That needs to be explained a little better. Okay? Because they may very well be insolvent.
Already, these guys owe... Government owes Kenya Power
11 billion.
11 billion for managing the rural electrification network. That one. 11B.
So why doesn't the government just give them their money?
Government should pay them, not at even cash.
No, give them their money. And then see what they do with the money that you owe them. Now, if the government owes this, what else does the government owe? Because what you'll find, some of the biggest consumers of power tend to be some of these government
They're government agencies.
Yes,
government
and they
bodies.
are also notorious for not paying their bills.
Yes. If they basically just rationalized and went and collected debt
properly,
maybe they'd have also some cash.
Maybe that task force is going to do precisely that. Make sure that people who owe money actually pay. Yes.
There's a man who's been chasing the engineer title for 34 years, and he's been told he may have to wait even longer after failing to convince the court to compel the Engineers Board of Kenya to bestow the honor on him. Ferdinand Nyongesa's quest for recognition hit a snag when Bungoma High Court declared that his petition bypassed the laid-down mechanism of solving disputes to do with certification at the board. It's important to follow set-down legal procedures and steps to avert a situation where parties invoke court action and sidestep the statutory route. Nyongesa is regretting that his certification has taken unnecessarily long, even as he had all the papers, including a PhD, a master's, a bachelor's degree, and a diploma in engineering. This is a man who started engineering the journey a long time ago. He started at diploma level, went and got a bachelor's degree, went and got a master's degree, went and got a PhD. He first graduated with the Bachelor of Science degree in physics in 1983.
And why is it that
was even employed as an assistant engineer in the Ministry of Transport and Communication. In 1987, I sought registration with the defunct Engineers Registration Board, ERB, who informed me that I did not meet the requirements for registration in the absence of other qualifications in the engineering line. You see, what he had initially was just a Bachelor of Science in Physics. So he was told you need to have some more qualification in the line of engineering.
So he went and got it?
Yes. They told him, your degree appears to be in science and not in engineering. It's regrettable that in the absence of any other qualifications, we can't give you this. And bowed, Nyongesa proceeded on a government scholarship to the University of Bradford and studied for a graduate diploma in electronics and communications engineering, then a Master of Science in Communication Engineering. When he submitted his application in 1990, the ERB refused to bestow the coveted title on him, again on grounds that it did not recognize postgraduate qualifications. So, your bachelor's degree is in science. You have a diploma in engineering, and you have a master's in engineering. Now, we look at bachelors. Do you have a bachelor's in engineering? No. Iko shida kidogo. That's what they told him. He gave up chasing for a while, but relaunched the bid in January last year by submitting another application and enclosing all relevant certifications. The man in his mid-50s also shared with the board that he got a scholarship to pursue a PhD in engineering at a local university in 2011. The board failed to respond to him, prompting him to follow up with a letter inquiring on his application. The letter was responded to by the board on the same date, informing him that his application was under review. Another letter dated October 1st last year by the board confirmed that the application was still pending review. Frustrated, he moved to court saying, this board is frustrating me. Court has told him, just go back and follow now the route of the engineers. It's called the Engineers Board. Is a statutory body. It has its mechanisms for resolving the issues. Once you've exhausted that, come to court.
You know what I find strange? The court is ducking this issue.
Why?
They are the people who are at the heart of his problem, so how are they going to resolve it? He has gone to court because this very board that he's being told to go to resolve the issue are the ones who have created the issue that has taken him to court.
Yes.
So how are they going to resolve it?
But there are mechanisms that have been set in place. If you feel that you're being frustrated, there's a step to follow. Now, if you came to court and said, this is a mechanism, I'm supposed to appeal here. I've written appeal. It didn't go through. I'm supposed to follow this next step. I did. It didn't go through. Now I'm here before the court because this board has basically not done what it's supposed to do according to the law. Then the court can say, okay, I see. But now the court, this matter can be taken to appeal, and the Court of Appeal will look at it and say, yeah, you came to the court prematurely. It's frustrating, isn't it?
You know,
what would you advise the man? Just go and do a bachelor's degree in engineering.
Why does he need to be called an engineer so badly?
I mean, his prestige and all.
No, I understand all that. You see, if the court tells you to follow procedure, that's what I'm saying. They're telling you, we don't want to deal with this thing. You understand? Okay? See, you have an engineering thing that deals with these engineering things. Go to that engineering thing so that they can deal with that's what you mean. Yeah, so you just follow the court's dictates, go back to the board and just follow. That's actually it. Go through those steps, tedious as they may be.
But the board has already told him before. The first time he applied, they told him, you need qualification in engineering.
So he went and got it.
He went and got post-qualification in engineering. Came back and they told him, what you should have done is you should have gotten a bachelor's because that's what we recognize. We are told to recognize a bachelor's degree. Now, here you've come with
and
a
that
master's
one,
degree.
We actually don't.
Now, here, before we recognize a master's,
there has to be a bachelor's.
There has to be a bachelor's.
Yes, and that bachelor's has to be ABCD.
Yes.
So, you know something? Unless he has the capacity to overhaul the dictates of that particular board, the choice is to follow what the board is telling you. It's not complicated. Whether it is unfair, fair, that's a completely different discussion. But if that is how they're going to go about their business, it's their board. That's how they go about their business. It's not a political issue. It's not they're fair, they're unfair. That's what they do. And if you can ascertain that there are others who have followed your path and have gotten the title, then now that is a matter you can take to court. Because then you can talk about unfair practices.
But can you imagine? You have a PhD in engineering, but you are telling we don't recognize you as an engineer.
Eric, there are certain rules and regulations that certain bodies have that are really strange when you hear it. But if you talk to the people who are in those bodies and they give you the logic behind it, you will find that logic makes sense.
It's just like, if somebody went and studied up to PhD level in law,
but
they did not go to the Kenya School of Law and pass the bar exam,
my friend,
LSK will not recognize you.
No, that one, you and Yako. Remember that the avenues you can follow, but they all end up at the Kenya School of Law.
Yes.
So you can...
And you pass the bar exam.
You can pile as many degrees as you want. That's fine. It's okay. You carry on. But if you do not go to the Kenya School of Law, for instance, if the dentist and pharmacist board does not license you, my friend, you can pile those degrees to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, okay? You are not going to be... So, if that board exists, it's recognized, and the authorities is recognized, then just eat a whole slice of humble pie and just go through the process that they insist you must follow. It's not a complicated issue.
Oh, yeah.
It's not complicated. Unless you want to overturn those dictates, and that is a completely different discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Engineers who themselves have followed those procedures have been known to complain about some of those procedures themselves. And they're engineers, and they're members of that fraternity. So, that is their peculiarity.
Okay. A story for 2 minutes?
Let me go back to the Business Daily.
Yes.
Okay. China seeks 1.5 billion for idle tools at JKIA.
Idle tools?
Yes. Here's one I read it for you, sir. A Chinese contractor hired to expand a runway at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has slapped the airport authority with 1.5 billion bills for penalties and idle equipment. The Kenya Airports Authority told Parliament that Sino Hydro Corporation Limited was seeking compensation after plans to put up a second runway stalled. The runway plan stalled after government priority shifted to expanding the existing terminals to increase the number of passengers using the facility. Sino Hydro, since 2017, has been the project site at JKIA with equipment. Okay?
Wait, this is second runway?
A.
Is this the Greenfields project?
A.
Okay.
So, they have been on site with equipment sitting there because they had an understanding. Government priority has changed. So now they're saying, what we are telling you, now we are seeking
1.5
compensation
billion
for the idle
shillings.
equipment and penalties for freezing the project, despite the firm having completed the first phase of the upgrade. And when they completed, they earned 2.6 billion from Kenya Airports Authority. Is this not a pattern we've seen before?
These are games.
Yes. Have we not seen this pattern before?
Is this the same matter that was before that the Kenya Airports Authority management went to the investment committee of the National Assembly and they were talking about? Remember we discussed it?
We discussed it, but it doesn't.
And they were saying they're having some backroom conversations so they can see how they can reach at an amicable solution where they'll give only a few 100 millions and not the full.
Well,
because the government came in and decided, Greenfields, forget it. We will not do it this time.
Kenya has open conversation talks for compensation. That's what it says. But some of these things date back to March 2016 when some of this cancellation took place. And now, if you're talking about accruing
Interest,
debt and then interest, okay.
Yeah. Okay. This is something that needs
By the
further
way,
discussion.
it's not the only one. The one we're
Further
talking about
discussion.
earlier
Let's
on.
talk about it. Let's talk about it after the news.
Thank you, sir.
A very good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. ODM leader Raila Odinga will today be in Ukambani as he continues to sell his Azimio la Umoja initiative. Odinga, who earlier this week met with Ukambani leaders in preparation for his visit, will begin with a meeting in Bote in Makueni County. He will later visit Bote and Emali as he is expected to accompany local governors, including Kivutha Kibwana of Makueni, Alfred Mutua of Machakos, and Charity Ngilu of Kitui. Yesterday, Raila denied allegations that he excluded Kalonzo from the visit, saying in all his visits he has been involving the governors of the respective counties. Raila's statement was echoed by Kalonzo, who said he was free to visit Ukambani and persuade residents to support him. The two are among the leaders who have announced their intention to run for presidency next year. Kalonzo, who was Raila's running mate in 2013 and 2017 elections, has stated that he will not support Raila again. The National Assembly has published a notice urging citizens to submit their views on two bills proposing amendments to two electoral laws. The bills call for the changes in the Electoral Act No. 24 of 2011 to provide an opportunity to ensure that candidates for parliamentary seats have voters in their constituencies. The other law is about funding for the 2021 campaigns, which aims to ensure that the 2013 law is in line with the Act No. 43 of 2011. National Assembly Clerk Michael Sialai urged citizens to submit their views on the bills in line with the constitutional requirement that they must be involved in the drafting of various laws. The Public Opinion Committee will hold a meeting between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. in approximately 13 counties including Nairobi, Mombasa, Nyamira, Bungoma, Homa Bay, Embu, among others from 19th November to December 11th. Council of Bishops of Catholic Church is accusing leaders of neglecting their responsibilities to serve the people and have resorted to campaigning for the upcoming general elections. The council also warned politicians against inciting Kenyans, saying that if they don't stop, the situation could plunge the nation into chaos. They also called on leaders to prioritize the needs of the people affected by the drought to save them from further losses. About 23 counties are facing drought as the government continues to provide food aid. The government is investigating the possibility that some police officers are working with criminals to carry out raids in Laikipia County. The investigation follows reports that some criminals could be using government guns to carry out their illegal activities. North Rift County Commissioner George Natembeya says the ongoing security operation in Laikipia was almost complete, noting that the killing of police officers would not hamper efforts to evict criminals from the county, especially the Laikipia Nature Conservancy, Sipili, and Olmoran. About 20 officers are said to have died in just 2 months in Laikipia area following insecurity. The latest incident saw two KDF officers killed. Now, parents of students at Kakamega Boys High School will pay 21.6 million shillings for damages incurred on the institution's premises following a fire that occurred on November 6, 2021. In a notice, the school's administration ordered students to report back between November 15th and November 25th, accompanied by their parents. Each student will be required to pay 9,823 to cover the damages, clear all outstanding school fees, and present banking slips on the reporting days. According to the school, the grand total of the damages amounted to 21,611,360, which was divided equally among the 2,200 learners at the institution. Now, African Union member states have been asked to invest in data collection, management, and governance to be able to effectively exploit resources for good of their continent. The project manager for fish governance at AUDA NEPA, Dr. Clement Ajololo, says the lack of the wherewithal collection data and make it accessible for use by African countries is a major challenge. He noted that worse still, there is a lack of intra-Africa sharing of data. Hence, decision-making on what can work on the continent is difficult. And the national team Harambee Stars surrendered a 1-0 lead to draw 1-1 in FIFA World Cup qualifying match staged at St. Mary's Stadium yesterday. Fahad Bayo scored a controversial goal on 88th minute as Uganda Cranes rallied from behind to draw with Kenya in their return leg fixture that saw Stars head coach Engin Firat name Georgia-based Amos Nondi and Anthony Wambani in the starting lineup. Team captain Michael Olunga had headed home the opener at the hour mark after meeting Kenneth Miguna's free kick at the back post, but as the Kenyans thought they were heading for a famous victory over their rivals, Bayo poked home from Brian Buire's hands. The clash had little to no significance for Kenya as they were already out of the running to play at next year's FIFA World Cup in Qatar. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, so Kangundo Road has some issue this morning, and I'm looking at it and see, yes, there's an issue there. So what they're saying is that there was an accident near Komarok Road Junction, that's stage 18, and it involved a school bus. And there's some issues there that's going on. Police are on site though. So if you're approaching that section and you see that's a snarl up, understand what's happening. Thika Road, yes. So the Muthui interchange coming into Pangani. Now it's starting to build up. It's backing all the way back up to Utali and Muthui Golf Club. So that's happening there. You know what's happening at Capital Centre as you head towards town. Yes, because there's a diversion and a narrowing down of the road. So that's some bit of a snarl up there. Otherwise, coming from Mlolongo, heading towards the CBD, it's moving well up to Airport Junction. It's moving very well. You to get to City Cabanas interchange. There's a bit of a snarl up there, but just for a while. Past Imara Daima all the way to Southern Bypass, it's looking really good. Is it 7 yet? Looks like this is a 5 a.m. Kind of map. Makadara on Jogo Road, it's busy, but then it clears and then gets starting to build up again at City Stadium roundabout. Anything that you think we ought to know about, SpiceFM KE on Twitter, 40127 is our SMS number.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes
12
in
days
punching
into
up,
November.
not
It's 8 minutes after 7. Happy Friday, wherever you are tuned in this morning. See, very many people are tuned in. Nordin Jackie says, good morning. Napata loud and clear nikiwa Meritini, tuko pamoja. And Edu wa Mwiki says, Mwiki is all tuned, full blast until the end of the show. Good morning to you all. Timo Mugera, you're saying that there's some interference of our signal around Madaraka, Nairobi West. Well, we'll alert Juma and the technical team. They'll look at that. Thank you very much. CT, today's Kamba proverb.
Muyu ndwalasia.
Muyo ndwalasia. Inasema nini?
Joy does not ache.
Joy does not ache. This one is a cryptic one.
As I said, this was the least cryptic of the ones I was looking at. Because you write it down, you look at it, you study it, and you think,
joy does not ache. Yeah. Sweet is not bitter.
Yes, that is straightforward. But again, it's cryptic. Others are even more cryptic. Because if you are having difficulty explaining it to yourself, how then do you explain it to those who are listening to you?
You just tell them it's not your proverb.
So now if you understand it, you tell us what you understand.
Yeah. What do you understand by this?
Yeah, because I clearly don't really
Joy
understand.
does not ache.
No, this one I can get. In fact, I selected this one because I could get it. I got it.
Hey, okay. Now, there's something that's happening there's a conversation that's taking place about the insurance sector, especially medical insurance. Now, medical insurance industry could be set for a major shakeup as the government lines up a raft of reforms targeted at protecting patients from exploitation by rogue service providers. A consultancy that was picked by the National Treasury through the Insurance Regulatory Authority is recommending radical changes in the industry's operations, including creation of an ombudsman to keep in check the activities of service providers and set maximum age-rated premiums charged on elderly citizens like City Muga above the age of 60. And those, it's in the paper. And
I know it's in the paper.
With chronic conditions to curb discrimination. The health insurance sector in Kenya is currently unfriendly to special customer groups such as the elderly and individuals with long-lasting medical conditions who are forced to part with premium fees or miss out on coverage. The expensive age-rated premiums have negatively impacted the number of insured elderly people, leaving them dependent on relatives and friends for healthcare. To curb this trend, the consultants have proposed a 200% limit on the difference between the lowest and the highest premium charge for a particular age-rated health insurance product. This proposal is expected to prompt insurers to create products with more affordable premiums for older individuals, which improves coverage. Older individuals are typically a client of an insurer for a longer time and hence contribute a significant amount to the pool of funds throughout their lifetime. So yes, here you are. You have been taking medical cover for... When's the first time you took medical insurance, City?
We're talking about NHIF, are we?
Private.
Private, it was 30 years ago.
So for 30 years, every year you've been contributing to a pool of insurers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
In those 30 years, in the younger years, how often would you get
Never. I have been, in my life, I have been unwell and hospitalized once. Unwell as in I need
You need to be in hospital, you need to stay in hospital.
Yes.
And how long ago was this?
Was it last year, the year before?
Yes.
That's it.
In 2019.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
So throughout your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, you were paying medical.
I didn't.
And you were not.
I never utilized that service.
And now that you're in your 60s, for you to get covered, your premium goes up.
Let me even explain to you. It's even more interesting. You then have a situation where they determine what they call pre-existing conditions.
Right.
Okay? If you are diabetic, as I am, it is considered. If you are hypertensive, pre-existing. And pre-existing, when they give you a good deal, it is 10% of what your cover is.
Right.
So if your cover is 100,000, they will only pay up to 10,000 shillings. Okay? And
per condition.
Yes, per condition. And even that one, there'll be a twist to it when you actually come to claiming it. Okay? Now, if you already have it, they will renew it. But let me tell you, you try and see if you want to say, for instance, this cover was 100,000, can I get 200,000? You'll find you're being involved in a completely different discussion. Some of the points that I have heard at the time when I've spoken to people in the insurance, the first they tell you, these health covers don't really make us money. And I'm thinking, why are you telling me that? It's like somebody, I go to a shop to buy a matchbox and tell me, milk doesn't really make us money. Why are you telling me about milk? So it's a very strange thing, but it tells you about the mindset of many people in that industry. The health provision as a bottom line is not lucrative. Okay? But I wonder if that really is not the case. Is it that
It is. Look, the other day we had a guest here, the day you were away.
Yes.
We had a gentleman from Kenbright. He's the MD and Chief Actuary. He's an actuary. Ezekiel Masharia. And he's telling us, look at the scope of insurance in this country. Okay. General insurance, where you have motor vehicle, you have workman compensation, you have all these other things. And you have health as well. 30% of revenues in general insurance in Kenya, medical.
30%.
30%. Of that, the bigger majority is not individual, it's corporate. Another 30% is motor vehicle. Again, it's a requirement of the law.
It is a requirement of the law.
Many people don't know that the requirement of the law is only third party. So many, especially those with personals, have taken comprehensive. Okay. 30%. So 30% of the revenues in general insurance is medical. This medical does not make us money. Really?
I have also asked that question before, because if you are simply looking at the odds or the odds ratio in such a discussion, and you ask yourself, okay, in this pool, the frequency with which people seek medical service. See, there is the abuse of the service,
right,
that often plays an important role, and the abuse is often in collusion with people in the industry and people in the healthcare sector.
Yeah,
it is not the patient.
Yep.
And yet the patient then is being made to bear the brunt of something that
pay
they,
more,
yes,
so
that they have not
fraud.
participated in whatsoever.
And as you know, when you talk about now at a certain age, there are things that are going to be obvious. You are going to get those pre-existing conditions.
You will get them.
You're more likely to get them.
The likelihood is higher.
Sindio?
Yes.
Now, when you start saying now we are not going to cover you because you have...
Yeah, my friend, the liability factor is greater where you're concerned.
That's true. That's okay. But then there's some other factors that should come in.
Actually,
for example, that thing that you've just said. I mean, if you have been contributing to this particular medical insurer,
should there not be a time when you also start benefiting from?
They should look back at that.
No, they don't look back.
Well, the thing about insurance is they say when the year is over, we are starting afresh. We don't know you. We don't remember you. The only thing that we're going to do is because we've been told by the regulator, now we give you a discount from the 7.5%.
If you have not claimed blah, blah,
blah,
blah.
claimed blah, 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 and the other. They should extend that in medical. If you have contributed, if you've been our member in your youthful years, then there shall be the benefit that you shall accrue in your older,
Let me tell you where the benefit comes in, and this is where knowledge is useful, is if you have a friend in the insurance business and they advise you. Essentially, if you have somebody who takes care of your insurance issues for you, who's an insurer,
right,
or who has that background, or who knows the industry. If not, you will suffer. Because even benefits that accrue to you, most insurance companies, we are not going to volunteer that information to you.
Yes.
No. The entire attitude is not one where the client is actually informed of their benefits. No. It's you limit that information as much as you possibly can, because the issue of profit at the end of the day is often the central point of discussion in many of these issues.
Yes.
Not the welfare of this contributor who's been part and parcel of this for the longest time. Eric, look at NHIA, for instance. When they raised the contribution and it got to 500 shillings, because they raised it to 500 shillings.
Yes.
The slew of promises that were made with regards to the benefits that somebody could acquire, could actually get.
Yes.
And it also dealt with specific diseases that could be catered for. Now, unless you pursue this line directly, you will have your bed occupation covered. No one's going to tell you. Why? It's an attitude that our people have. Yet, you may find NHIF has been charged for it.
Yes.
But the hospital and the people who work in it have found some way. You don't benefit from it. NHIF pays for it, but you don't benefit from what it is you ought to benefit from. We're not discussing just the insurance industry. We're discussing the attitude and the get-rich-quick mindset that Kenyans have, where a straightforward matter that ought to be looked into, you suddenly find it gets convoluted and all manner of things take place. To the point where, if you get hospitalized, you actually need to get somebody to study
To look at the bill.
Item by item by item, and to ask, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? What is this?
Why is this charged twice? Yeah. It was a
Eric,
mistake.
the horror stories you hear from people who, when you work or when you've worked for a long time in the health space and you work with people who are trained healthcare providers, see, when they go to hospital, these people will not know.
Yeah.
So they play the same game. So the person looks and says, excuse me, why have you given me 5 different painkillers?
This is water. You're saying you injected the... This is water.
Yes, it's saline. And then
it's not even saline water, it's just
water. Plain. And then why are you giving me 4 different types of antibiotics? What do I need them for?
Yeah.
This one does this. I mean, this one is adequate. The truth of the matter is, we are dealing with a problem that is part of this larger problem that we have as a country. It's just that now the insurance industry deals with...
Has professionalized it.
Yes, they have. And it deals with a human being at their vulnerable moments. When you're paying and you're okay, it's not a problem. When you're vulnerable, when you need it, then the problem rears its head.
And a bigger thing that even that time when we were having a conversation with Macharia, what kept raising was that opaqueness in information.
It's deliberate.
Because there's so many different products. So there's a product for this, there's a product for this, there's a product for the other. But how many people get to know that? How many people know, for example, you can take an insurance cover that will only sort out A, B, C, D, but not this and the other? Like Macharia was telling us, we can both be having a 10 million shillings cover. But what you're covered for and what I'm covered for are totally different.
Same thing. But Eric, what are you saying? I had a situation where one of my work colleague went to hospital, was diagnosed with something. Someone who has a mental checkup, a health checkup every year. And there's a report. 1 year they go in, they notice there is a problem. All right? And it's noticed because they've been feeling unwell, they're hospitalized. Previous checks and tests in that hospital have not shown any of that. Then the debate begins. The insurer says this is pre-existing. Said, no, excuse me. We got to know of it this time. It was not pre-existing.
Is it pre-existing, pre-knowledge? What is pre-existing?
No. See? So at what point is it pre-existing?
Yeah, pre-what?
Pre-what exactly, yes. So it was in my body, it wasn't discovered, so it's pre. So then it means everything is pre. Now, it's a painful discussion to have, especially when now you have a colleague who is unwell, they need the care, and here's somebody who's fighting to limit what they ought to pay.
Yep.
And he's saying, it is for such reasons that we pay. And this person is part of a larger group of people who are around 1,000 in number.
Contributing to this
this thing. And they haven't fallen ill. It's this person who is unwell. Yeah. And you're kicking of us.
Yeah.
By the time
and you can see,
yes,
the medical professional has actually certified that, yes, there's a case here.
Yes.
It's not fraud.
No.
So we are not even arguing because, there are some questionable, or, we don't even understand when they went to hospital. No. You can come and find them in the health facility.
Eric, when I also go for a health checkup every single year, and I go to the same hospital.
Yeah.
When I was hospitalized, 7 months prior to that, I'd gone for that checkup. 7 months. I'd forgotten about it until my endocrinologist came and told me, but you were here 7 months ago. I said, yes. And we did this checkup when I said, yes. I was here for actually 3 days. I insisted that please take your time in checking everything. I'm not in my first youth. I need to understand. What now took me to hospital was not evident 7 months ago. It wasn't there. But it was not pre-existing.
And it's within the same year.
7 months.
Within the same year of your insurance.
Yes.
You're insured for the year?
Yes.
Within the same year?
Yes.
It's discovered. Now it's called pre-existing.
Yes.
What?
In fact, it's the doctor who said, but you were here 7 months ago, and I checked. But this thing wasn't there. I said, yeah, it wasn't. Said, hey, now this is personal. We now need to find out what it is that has brought this about, because it wasn't there. The test you do for this, I said, yes. That's why I come for that checkup every year. And it isn't at a checkup for an hour. No. I said, no. Please hospitalize me and check everything that you need to check, because I need to know. I'd rather know what I have so I know what I'm dealing with.
Yes.
Now, tell me, somebody who doesn't go for a checkup every year and then discovers they are sick when they are actually hospitalized, what do you think becomes of such a person?
And then you're told pre-existing, insurance
you
will
will
not
be
cover
told
this.
it's pre-existing.
Insurance will not cover this and the other, and you're there.
No, you're being told it's 10%. And they also put a cap on how much they can insure you for when you go to Sydney. There's a cap. Now, this is the strange thing. It's a cap when you actually need it more.
And that's the thing.
Is it not strange?
It's very... Now, especially for a country such as ours, where the larger number of people who are in the population are the youthful ones, where you are a great minority.
Yes, I'm in a diminishing minority.
Yes.
So,
what are we talking about? It's just lack of creativity. I put it at lack of creativity by the insurance industry in Kenya. That's the reason why we are not seeing more and more younger people getting into insurance.
And that is why.
Because they're not thinking.
They are not creative in trying to attract these people. But is it not the same problem that our banking sector has?
Yep.
Lack of creativity in attracting people so that they become your client at an early age. As they grow up, they will be with you. And look at how you benefit from it.
Yep. Now the banks have started getting into that, understanding that, creating products that are geared towards the youth, and even calling them youth, nini, this and the other, SME and all. But this is not where they were like 15 years ago.
Fintechs
in fact, someone was saying fintechs have come in and beat them to it.
Yes.
Someone was saying the insurance industry is still stuck where the bank industry was
stuck
30 years ago.
You know, you look at the benefit you have. I have the benefit of having a friend who looks after my insurance needs. And he's thorough, he's knowledgeable, and he's very good. How many people have such a person?
Not many.
And you're going to fight that battle on your own. Man, you lose the battle before you even start fighting it.
You're left to your own devices.
And then there's something strange also that happens with insurance. You get the impression that the moment you enter a hospital, there is this competition to expend whatever it is your limit is.
Yes.
I'm saying you get that impression.
Something simple and your limit is gone.
Yes. If your limit is $500,000, they want to finish it. I mean, that's the impression you get.
Yeah.
If it's 100, whatever the limit is, that's what they're going to push it. Let me tell you something interesting about healthcare. Being hospitalized is a good thing because you get to talk to healthcare providers because you're now a patient and you're captive. You're not going anywhere. You're right there. And they talk free because they see you every day. You get used to them.
Yes.
My friend, there's medication you can be given if you are the sort of careful person who wants to look at the billing on a daily basis. Billing and cost. You'll get to a point and ask, and this is what exactly?
When did I take it?
Yes. And why you're asking, it's not that you know it, it's the cost. You're asking, hey.
What is this?
And what does it do?
Yes.
They tell you, they said, but and the others that can do this one does it better. So that's okay. So now, somebody who doesn't have an insurance cover, so what happens to them?
Imagine.
Because essentially you're telling me that without this. Yes. Exactly.
I'm due for an MRI scan this afternoon.
Okay.
Remember the issue I've been telling you
That's
sitting here on the lower back. So a doctor told me, you look fine. Let's just do a scan.
Ascertain.
Just check. Do you know how much an MRI scan is? It's a 30-minute procedure.
Oh, it's a very expensive process, Chief.
45,000.
Yes. Yes, the last time I checked it was around 37, so it's going to 45, right?
45.
Good. Na ni kamera tu unapitisha kwa mwili. Fweep. 45.
Yes.
Now,
the last time I did MRIs, because I'd done a couple of MRIs a couple of years back, they were at about 28,000 or so. And that's not many years ago. We're talking about maybe 10 years ago. And I did several, but
the equipment that allowed you to pay 10,000, that equipment is not there. The equipment that they now have, the one which allows you to pay
45,000.
Now, if you don't have 45,000, what do you do?
That's it.
And yet, this is the sort of service that NHIF and public hospitals ought to provide at a reasonable cost.
Yes.
And if you look at what NHIF proposes to do, it's what they do. And yet you still have a bottleneck.
If you went to this same procedure, if I went to a private facility, it will be much cheaper. And that's the reason why NHIF, for example, public, That's the reason why NHIF, for example, is only paying, I think, 15,000 shillings of this. But the time NHIF is capping it at 15,000 is because they know you can get it at 15,000 in a public
They know.
health facility.
They know. It covers the cost and there's something for maintenance and all. They know.
It sorts it.
Yes.
But because you
private,
go to a private.
And you're paying for the atmosphere.
Yes.
And the environment. 45. And you can be told even 45 is not, sometimes it's even more.
It could be something. In fact, it's because we're not using dye. If we use dye, then it goes up.
The healthcare costs, unfortunately, in this country are prohibitive.
Yes. The cost of healthcare is just going out of the window. And we're trying to have all these conversations. The other day, it was a conversation by the National Assembly Committee on Health. What were they trying to do? They were trying to cap the cost of healthcare. Private health providers are the ones who have gone and shot this thing down and said, we were not consulted.
Yes, they have.
They're the ones who have said, no, you can't tell us how much we should be charging people for. No, we were not consulted on this, blah, 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 blah. If someone comes to us, they're choosing to buy a Mercedes, let them buy a Mercedes.
Yeah, if it was the conversation of whether to buy a Mercedes or not, Eric, should we take a break and then continue?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break. Yeah.
It's 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room with you this morning is Eric Latiff and CT Muga. Happy Friday. Let's take a look at the traffic. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I like?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is SpiceFM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Okay, so what's happening on the roads? Well, we know there was an accident early involving a school bus on Kangundo Road. Accident involving a school bus again at MMU Climb on Bagathi Road. Probably a school bus there. We can see some pictures and some clips that have been shared on social media. Another accident involving a school bus this morning. One Kangundo Road, another one on Magadi Road around Karen, near MMU. Now, what's happening on the other parts of the road? So, Mombasa Road coming to town today is not so bad, but there has been some nonsense taking place at Mlolongo. My friend, everybody just talks about when you get to Mlolongo, whether you're heading out or you're coming back into town, it's just been chaotic, and I can see that right now. Mlolongo is bad. What is it that Kenha is doing? Even Kenha doesn't know. I'm sure if you ask them. The other day, City, I went to Kangemi.
Westland.
Yes.
Westland.
You see, from Westland, going to Kagemi Westland, from ABC Place to Rironi in Limuru at the Maimahio Junction.
Yeah.
This has been a construction site for the last
They
X
haven't
number of
completed that
years.
thing. That thing has been going on for, I think...
I drove towards Kangemi. Well, coming from Deloitte.
Yes.
Trying to find my way back to town.
A bit of a nightmare, isn't it?
No turn. I find myself in Kangemi. No turn. You don't even know where you are. You are in some gully. Next up, you're up there on the... My good Lord.
Now, what happens if you're on that road at night?
In fact, that's what somebody was saying. If you're on this road at night...
You know, you have an accident is going to happen.
Yep, you have no clue where you're going. So, poleni sana, people who are using that section of the road, Kangemi, Kinoa. In fact, I can even see this traffic, constant traffic. Kangemi, Kinoa, coming all the way to Westlands. Issues. Thika Road, it has now stretched past Survey. It's gone all the way to almost Outer Ring Road Junction. It's crazy, but that's also the same thing happening on Kiambu Road. After Pangani, it's clear onto Moranga Road and onto Wangari Maathai Road. So don't worry, just persevere. South B as well at Capital Centre. It now starts at Bellevue, goes all the way to Capital Centre. After South Sea Bridge, it clears. Again, diversions. Langata Road, it's all the way from the Mobile and comes to Raila Odinga Way. Poleni San, whatever is happening. Let's know if there's any major accident that we need to talk about. We shall tell you about it. Oh.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Okay. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
This conversation continues. So, as we're talking about insurance, another story that's about insurance. Teachers up in arms of a medical scheme. Some teachers are demanding the revocation of the Aaron Minette medical scheme, saying they are unable to get proper medical services. The teachers who spoke to the nation said the insurer has been refusing to clear medical bills, forcing teachers to dig into their own pockets to pay for treatment. They lamented that some of the hospitals listed by the scheme are inaccessible to patients on wheelchairs because they are located in tall buildings, while others are far from teachers' locations. They are also complaining that approvals for scans take too long, forcing the teachers to give up and seek services in accredited hospitals. The medical scheme has limited the number of days a teacher can visit a hospital to once every 7 days, meaning that a teacher's medical card cannot be used twice in a week. It means that once a teacher has gone to a hospital within a week, their dependents cannot access treatment within that week. So they have a lobby group, the Kenya National Teachers Pressure Group, comprising teachers in primary and secondary schools and teachers training colleges, is piling pressure on the TSC to revoke the medical scheme or provide a better one for teachers. The spokesperson, Martha Omolo, a teacher in Nairobi, yesterday said TSC had forced teachers to register with Aon Minette without allowing them to participate in the process of identifying and picking the scheme administrator and health provider. Many angles to this story.
You know, when you listen or when you hear murmurs becoming complaints and they seem to be getting louder, it's something to pay attention to. You ought to pay attention to it when it actually comes up before it becomes a cacophony and you're being forced to actually listen to it. But the fact that people have something to say on the subject means there is something.
Yep.
But again, when we talk about what people feel they need and what ought to be done about it, unfortunately in this country we can't talk about it without talking about the deaf ear that is often accorded such matters. It's like, you people are a problem. And yet someone's actually pointing to the problem. They are not the problem.
Yes.
But the attitude is, if you point to a problem, you are a problem.
It's Siasa.
Yes.
You're being used by other competitors to remove this one so that those competitors can come in. Maybe you've been promised something.
Is that not always the discussion that takes place?
Yeah.
Yes. It's never, we've heard what you've said, let's look into it.
Let's look into it.
No, it's never.
So what is it that you're saying? That if you are covered, you and your family members are covered, this card can only be used once in 7 days. So if you fall ill, tell your wife and children not to fall ill within the week.
Please.
And if you fall ill and you're required to come back to hospital next week, tell them not to fall ill for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's important. Yes. And in fact, if
you fall ill and the doctor tells you come back in 3 days, don't use the card.
No. Better still, if you can try not to fall in the course of the whole year until we renew this particular policy, that'll be, in fact, much better. Yes. But we know it's a health insurance, but please don't fall ill. Now, I mean, what you think ought to be a partnership, because that's what it actually is. You have an organization you call an enterprise, and these individuals are the building blocks of your enterprise. And yet you're always treating them in an adversarial manner. The question is, how long do you think this particular enterprise is going to last? Why do you think people rush to NHIF when they came up with all those things?
Yeah.
But Eric, let me ask the question. Do you remember the advent of cell phones when they now started becoming popular?
Yeah.
You know, landlines died. Literally.
Natural death.
Yes. And you know why?
Even booths
died. Telecommunications were such a headache. They were such a pain to deal with that when an alternative was provided for, that was it. They said, thank you very much. Stay with your business.
Solution comes, it addresses a direct need, and that's it. And some of it, the need was always there. Telecom was actually providing that need. It's communication.
So they thought.
But then, you want a line. You've got to apply. You've got to wait for our engineers to come. Your line is down. You call. They come. They'll take forever to come. And then they repair and they tell you, no. But you realize that somebody came and they were making calls to America and Canada and China and Australia on your line.
Eric.
Bill.
Eric, I recall having a discussion of that sort with Kenya Post Telecommunications when I was a head teacher. And I asked, but same question, who makes calls to America?
In this school?
And Afghanistan and who and where. I mean, I said, who? Now, again, I was able to talk to the area boss because I knew somebody who took me there. This is always the question. Now, what about those who don't know, who don't know, who don't have those connections? What do they do?
What did the boss tell you?
The boss looked and said, yeah, you're a school. I said, but just look at the track record of I've been here for X number of years. These are the patterns. You have them. Why would this suddenly be there? I wouldn't know. He says, yeah, we'll look into it. But why don't you pay what you usually been paying and we'll continue?
We'll sort out the rest.
Yes. So, you've gone to the area boss to talk about it. Now, you tell me, other people who had owned domestic lines had similar complaints.
Yep. It's disconnected until you pay, you owe them.
And they don't want to hear any story. And they say, but I never make calls beyond this and this and this.
No. It's here.
And what used to happen, when you talk to people in the know, they just connect that call to your line.
Yes.
It's not you made the call, but it's connected to your line.
Yes.
No, it's madness.
It is. Monopolies and all, that's what happens.
You know, remember when we were talking earlier on, and I was mentioning something in passing with regards to Kenya Airports Authority.
Yes.
And we were looking at some of the details. The thing that I found alarming is it's not one Chinese firm, it's not two Chinese firms, but there's a pattern that we've seen with government projects. There's a government project, there's a contractor on site. We're seeing it slowly evolving in the Aurora and Kimoror saga. We are seeing it at the Kenya Airports Authority. We've seen it elsewhere. The contract is cancelled.
Yep.
And according to the contract, there are penalties that would accrue in the event that such a thing happened. Now, so when these people are cancelling it, are you telling me that they're unfamiliar with that detail of that contract?
Of course not.
And are you telling me that they're unfamiliar with the possibility of a negotiation? Because, yes, something can happen and you don't have the money. Should there not be a clause where you can say, go, you folks, this is what we agreed, but we need now renegotiate it because this is where we are. But the news that we often read about is a situation where now the government is negotiating how much to pay, meaning you're going to pay anyway. Why must this be the norm? That we are always reading about contracts we've gotten into and which we forever have to pay for. Remember, I am of the view that it is deliberate. The contracts are set up so that they can be cancelled. And the real aim of the contract is not for it to be completed, but for the penalties to be paid. That is my view.
I think you ask yourself so many questions in these kind of things. There's somewhere it's settling political scores.
There's that detail, yes.
Another one is just, it was engineered so that we can make money out of it.
Yes.
Look at the Greenfields project, for example. So this is in the latter years of the Grand Coalition government. The government agrees that we're going to expand JKIA.
Makes sense.
Projections, the number, we've made Nairobi the hub, blah, 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 blah. Part of the Mawingu project of Kenya Airways is to... Okay, so what do we need to do? Expand airport. Create a second terminal. Okay.
Then?
Go into contracting. Go into identifying a contractor. And then a new government comes in and says,
scrap this.
What's that? No, we are not doing. Forget it. A contract is in place. By the time the political bosses are saying, forget it, have they spoken to the legal people? at Kenya Airports Authority in the Attorney General's office? Have you seen what the contract says? What's the cost of it? Have you started as fast as possible to settle those issues out and iron them out? This is the contractor, for example, in that story, who says the equipment has been on site for how many years?
My friend, it's been lying idle.
Sitting there, lying idle, not mobilized, not moving, not being given the money to continue the project.
2017, Baba.
Since 2017. They expect the money to come so they can continue the project.
Yes.
In the meantime,
They've already done a bit.
They've already done a bit. They have not removed the equipment.
No. Because the first phase done, they were paid 2.2 billion. They're now moving on to the second phase.
Yes.
You're told, stop. So equipment is lying there, they're waiting.
You already brought the equipment. You've mobilized.
You're committed.
And staff and all.
Yes.
Everybody's down there.
Yes.
So by the time the person who's saying stop says stop, have they had those conversations?
I think they have conversations about the amount of money involved. They also understand the clauses that deal with penalties accruing from an untimely cancellation of the contract. They do understand it. They say, cancel it. But it's not cancelled before they've said, okay, so if we cancel this thing and pay you, this is my thinking, and pay you what you need. So can we have a discussion about this?
Yes.
A businessman, of course we can have a discussion about this.
I just need my money.
Yes, that's it. Okay, so let's work it out. What is the real cost of this? Okay, and there's this and this. Okay, so let's set the ball rolling. Eric, it can't be that a major project that was thought through over a long period of time, that it's not one project, it's not two. We read about this all the time.
That's
Why?
a constant thing.
Yes, it's the constant. It's the
project
constant.
starts, project stalls.
Yes.
And even in some cases, so project starts like Mlolongo, Kitengela Junction to Machakos Junction. Contractor is on site today, contractor is not on site tomorrow. Why? Mobilization of funds. But you see, they've mobilized. They have their people, they have a team that's been appointed to do this project, they have people who've been hired to do this particular project, there's equipment that has been brought in to do this particular project. The moment there's no money that's coming to finance the project according to the plan, there was a plan, we're going to do this thing in 2.5 years, it'll cost this much. If that stretches to 5 years, cost overruns, is it engineered from the very beginning that this one, yes, it's going to cost 2.5 billion shillings in 2 years, but if it goes to 6 years, then we take it to 10 billion shillings?
These are intelligent people we're dealing with, and they're professionals who actually understand how to cost these things. They do. And they work with people who understand the legal implications of these things. They understand these things. We're not dealing with ignorant people. We're dealing with deliberate people. Eric, do you remember there was this stretch on your way to Nyeri that was repaired forever? Do you remember it?
Yes.
Forever. And somehow somebody would come there. Every once in a while you might see some work going, until you wondered.
All the way from Mokutano Junction to Sagana into Karatina.
Yes. You wondered, what is wrong with this project? Huh? Once in a while, a little carpeting may take place.
Yes.
But essentially, you're on a bad road.
Yes.
Now, the problem is, we simply graduated. President Kibaki felt, these local contractors will give this work. These guys,
they're playing us.
They're playing with. Let's get people who are professionals who can do the work. And we did see a change, didn't we? Roads being built on time. Kenya doing their work. There was a point that there was a surge, and you realize, these things that we're saying can be done can actually get done.
Yes.
And you're driving on a road until you actually forget you're on that road.
Yes.
Okay. We are still building roads. But unfortunately, what now came to the fore is a different scenario.
It's a whole different game.
It's completely, and on a different scale completely.
When the road is done and even the financing is part of the contract.
Yes.
It gets completed.
It gets completed very quickly.
Because the money is coming in from this particular financial institution, is going to the contractor, moves. When the money is coming from the National Treasury, look at Ngong Road. Ngong Road, I think one day the contractor will be called and told, we've sent some money to your account for the completion of the project. Thank you very much. Then they come back. Which project was it? Ngong Road. Yeah, Ngong Road. They go on the ground. excuse me, this Ngong Road is on we were doing potholes. No, you're expanding it to dual carriage. Oh yeah, dual carriageway. They have forgot. It's been so long since the contractor was on site. The contractor himself has forgotten what the job was all about. Moved on to something else. He's roasting maize somewhere. Forgot. And it's because of all these delays in financing. Oh, money coming from the National Treasury. Oh, money coming from here, money coming from there. Things that are just, you ask yourself, so what's the issue here?
You know, it's not just capital projects. It's not just big infrastructure projects. Why is Kenya Airways on its knees, COVID not being considered? If you look at the interference that particular organization has endured, how do you move from East African Airways, where we were dithering and limping? You bring in a guy called Brian Davis, Airbird and their people, and they do that a complete turnaround. You have huge airlines like Brussels Airlines, Swiss Air collapsing. Kenya Airways is just going from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength. By the time it's being called Pride of Africa, we were making money hand over fist. How then do you explain to us a profit-making company, a preferred airline, that even people who have airlines from the destinations they are going to that same place, still prefer Kenya Airways? What did we do to get it to the doldrums long before COVID? What were we doing with it? It's not as though people were not boarding the flights. They were. It isn't as though they didn't have business. They did.
Yes.
We were growing routes. We were expanding it. What did we do?
We expanded.
That's what we did.
We flew close to the sun.
And the wax on our wings melted. And lo and behold, we came tumbling
I think, no. Actually, if you talk to some people, they'll tell you the Mawingu project was a good one, Project Mawingu.
Yes.
But then, the details of the implementation of Project Mawingu, that's where now the issues start coming in. So where are we going to get the planes? You know what we're going to do? So we're going to have this special purpose vehicle that's going to give us the planes.
And then we're going to lease it through this.
And
and Kenya is going to pay for this lease.
Yes.
But the lease is actually the name of the other people. But that's it. You know, dusted.
So how much is it going to cost us to lease a plane? And how much should it be costing us to lease a plane?
And
how much? All those things.
And why can't Kenya just do it directly? Why do they need to go through XY? After all, they're the ones who are paying the money. No. You see, when you...
because these ones are going to help us in financing the lease.
There's an exhausting...
So there's a financing of the lease, and then the lease now is going to be financed through this one. Those details.
I told you, with airlines, it's not like buying a car.
No.
It isn't. Okay, so how is it different? You see, okay.
This is a high-risk business, and it's a very low margin.
Precisely. And there are few specialists who know how to do these things. So we've got those specialists. It's okay.
And you people who are working there are not specialists.
Let me tell you, there are people who work in Kenya. There are people in that business for a long time, and they know, and they'll tell you, actually, it's not done quite that way.
I think, and this is after even speaking to some people who are in the area who worked for Kenya Airways, Project Mawingu, with what it sought to do, creating a hub for Nairobi, saying everybody from Africa, we connect through Nairobi and then we take you to the rest of the world. Brilliant.
But they did not happen.
Brilliant.
They did not happen.
And that's why it was going in line with expanding Jomo Kenyatta, because the numbers through JKIA...
They kept growing and growing and growing.
What are they calling it? Wheel and spoke.
Yes. Eric, when you were coming into this country, the number of people who were coming to Nairobi to connect, it always shocks one. I'm talking about myself. And you'd sit on that flight and you're thinking, all these people are going through. And you know why? They're using Kenya Airways. Kenya Airways. The other planes, because of the connectivity.
Across Africa.
Yes.
Then another issue comes in. So now, do you understand the market that you're serving? So you are serving West Africa, you're serving the DRC, you're serving the Central African Republic, you're serving all this. Who are you transporting and where are you taking them? You're taking them to Gwangju and bringing them back. So they're coming with goods. These are traders. Do you have the capacity to carry the same good and transfer them from JKIA to their countries? You have brought the small planes. Okay, so now
actually you've got planes that are good at carrying passengers,
Yes.
but not
But not
goods.
the cargo.
It has
This is a
all-
business person. They have come in a big Boeing from Gwangju. They've landed at JKIA. The cargo is with them. Then you're telling them now, go to Malabo, go wherever. But ndege imejaa,
kwa hivyo
the cargo will
follow.
come later. What stories are you giving me?
And yet there are planes that have that range that can also accommodate the cargo.
Yes.
Okay.
Decisions.
Yes.
In the implementation.
Yes. These planes are
and
good,
the
yes.
interests at play.
Yes. If you're talking about just intercontinental flights, very good. These are not business people. They just need to fly, go there. But why are you using this plane that is good for this and ignoring this particular type of plane that is,
Which is going to be the one that transports a majority of your catchment
Eric,
market.
when you talk to experts and as a layman, you suddenly realize you're developing a headache.
Yeah.
You say, what? I said, so why did we make this decision? I said, we did and we didn't. I said, oh.
Yeah.
But then
It wasn't exactly our decision.
but
See now some of these things. You know, there are very many stakeholders in this.
Yes. I said the planes. Oh, they're very nice planes. Yeah, but there's this small issue of cargo. It isn't a small issue.
There were new planes. You've gone and bought brand new planes.
Yes.
And you've brought them here.
And you know what you need them for?
The Bombardiers. Right. It has a capacity to carry 90 people. So 90 go, 90 go, 90 go. But the people who are going, they arrived from China with
a ton of goods.
And
they need those goods to go with them.
Yeah.
You know, Eric, one of the things that I found interesting, these conversations are always good when you're talking to people who are experts in that field. And they're explaining to you how it is. I remember once a flight delayed, internal flight. And when you fly often enough, you get to talk to people and they talk to you openly. So I asked someone, okay, I've heard the story. Okay, now. But we never did go to where we were going. We had to spend the night. I live in Nairobi and I was taken to a hotel so that I can be woken up at 4 to be brought to the airport. You know what? So I had this conversation with someone and they told me, look, we're really sorry. What happened was that plane of yours, which was supposed to take you, we diverted it early because we had quite a number of people who needed to go here and that plane has that range. I said, hey, we're operating Matatu services. He says, yeah, that's what it amounts to. But, you know, that particular, you guys are going to have to travel where you're going anyway. You're locals. I said, I'm not saying it badly. I'm just explaining to you because you're my friend and I'm trying to explain this to you. But that was a far more lucrative thing because we're going 2 countries away from Kenya and there are people coming back. He said, the money to be made, we're not going to ignore it. So we'd rather inconvenience you, spend the night. He said, so if there was a meeting I was going to attend at 7 o'clock, so I have to postpone it for tomorrow. I said, but we know. I said, look, don't take it badly. You're a local. It's a local meeting. I said, what makes you think it's a local meeting? It's just taking place locally. What makes you think it's a local meeting?
It's local, buana. What is your
See,
problem?
it's you. He said, you know what that means, Eric? Every time I had a meeting to attend, I would go a day before.
Yeah. Because you can't.
And I'm going on that day.
You can't take the risk.
I'm going on. And yet, this is coming from a period when I could tell someone confidently, at the Kenya Airways, I'll be there exactly the time I've told you. Because I knew I could rely. I knew it will be there on time. We will leave on time. And we'll get it. I knew. And I could say it. Not to the point where I'm saying, let me come a day earlier. It is easier.
Things go haywire with institutions. And all we do is talk. And then it just moves on. And what we say, okay. So you bring in a new management and pile on the pressure on this person. And the new management is basically coming to, they're finding not a patient in a ward, they're finding a body in a morgue.
Yes, and then you're telling them,
I need this guy at work tomorrow. This body.
And you're telling him, man, this guy is actually dead. Said, we heard what you said, but we'll just make sure he's at work tomorrow. Said,
what does he need? Blood?
Said
we can bring you blood.
Said, we've got it, but we told you we're not morticians. This guy's actually dead. Said, okay, I think it's you who didn't hear us. Yeah, make sure he's what.
You have a problem. You're failing. We told you we need this person at work tomorrow. He's dead. So what does he need? That's what I'm asking. Does he need the blood? We can do a blood drive. Chap.
You know, Eric, you know these stories you hear. we don't stop. And you hear them everywhere. IBC, similar stories.
Yes.
Anyway, there we go.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Why should you start saving early for retirement? The whole issue of compounding and the benefits that you derive from compounding and all. That's a conversation that we want to have in the next hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. So joining us next is a lady from UAP Old Mutual, Head of Pensions. Christine Karoki, she'll be with us. We'll be talking about that. Insurance, not insurance, but pension and saving for retirement. We've had a conversation with the regulator. Now we're having a conversation with a player. Keep it right here for that. This is The Situation Room on SpiceFM at 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The COVID-19 positivity rate has dropped to 1.4% after 94 people tested positive from a sample size of 6,765 tested in the last 24 hours. From the cases, 91 are Kenyans, 3 are foreigners, while 55 are males and 39 are females. According to data from the Ministry of Health, the youngest is a 4-year-old child, while the oldest is 83 years. 38 patients recovered from the disease, 33 from the home-based isolation and care program, while 5 are from health facilities countrywide. Health workers in Turkana County are currently undergoing training to equip them with skills to reduce infant and maternal mortality. The county has one of the highest recorded cases of mothers dying while giving birth. According to the Kenya Demographic and Health Survey 2014, Turkana County is losing 1,594 mothers per 100,000. The training, supported by the International Rescue Committee, is targeting 33 health workers from the sub-counties in Turkana South, Turkana West, Loima and Turkana East sub-counties. A pastor who defiled his 17-year-old niece has been remanded by a Kilungu court to allow more time for investigations into the incident that occurred over 3 weeks ago. Daniel Kimeu appeared before the Kilungu Principal Magistrate Elizabeth Mwiru, where he was charged with defiling the minor, who is a Form 3 student. The investigating officer, Corporal Joseph Rotembo, told the court that the accused would interfere with investigations if released on bail. The plea to detain the suspect was granted. The case will be mentioned on the 16th of November 2021. Now, Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya now says more than 80% of illegal herders had been flushed from conservancies and ranches by a combined team of Anti-Stock Theft Unit, General Service Unit and Kenya Police Reserve. Natembeya says that residents who had sought refuge at Olmoran Center had returned to their farms after normalcy was restored, while the government had rebuilt 29 houses belonging to locals that had been burnt by the bandits. Natembeya added that learning had resumed at Merguit Primary School, which had been razed down after it was rebuilt by the Kenya Defence Forces. The recently launched Stragglers movement has unveiled an associate lobby group incorporating Kenyans residing in the United States. The movement, which officially launched its political activities in Dallas, Texas, vowed to rally Kenyans in the diaspora behind ODM leader Raila Odinga's candidature in next year's presidential elections. Members of the movement noted that their support for the former Prime Minister emanates from his commitment to struggle for a better Kenya. They said Kenyans all over the world must focus on next year's election, terming it a critical moment where they have to choose the right people who will lead the country in the right direction. Kenya's first nuclear power plant is scheduled to go live in 2036, according to Nuclear Power and Energy Agency NUPEA. According to the agency, it anticipates that the first nuclear reactor will be constructed along the Kenya coastline due to availability of water and space. NUPEA Director of Nuclear Energy Infrastructure Development Engineer Eric Ohaga says small modular plants will generate between 50 and 270 megawatts of nuclear energy. Kenya has been toying with the idea of setting up the second nuclear power plant in Africa for the last 2 decades. The Nuclear Power Energy Agency says Kenya has made great strides in enhancing the legal framework and setting up the necessary regulatory structures to ensure proper management of radioactive waste and spent fuel. Across the borders, and the Ethiopian government has set out conditions for possible ceasefire talks with the leaders of the Tigray People's Liberation Front TPLF following days of international diplomatic efforts aimed at halting intensifying hostilities. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government has been locked in a year-long war with fighters from the northern Tigray region who have pushed south in recent months and have not ruled out a possible march on the capital Addis Ababa. Foreign Ministry spokesman Dina Mufti says that one of the conditions for possible talks, which he stressed had not been agreed to, would be for the TPLF to withdraw from the Amhara and Afar regions bordering Tigray. And Aston Villa's swift and sleek appointment of Rangers manager Steven Gerrard as successor to the sacked Dean Smith suggests this was a move that did not require a great deal of persuasion on the other side. Villa Chief Executive Christian Paslow knows Gerrard well from his time as Liverpool Managing Director, and the club immediately made him their number one target, having had their admiration reaffirmed by his work in Glasgow, winning Rangers' first title in a decade. Gerrard, meanwhile, has no hesitation in returning to the Premier League with Villa as club of stability and ambition, where he will be guaranteed financial support from owners Nassif Sawiris and Wes Edens. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so we have to take a look at the traffic now. What's happening at 8 a.m. Earlier, Langata Road was not looking so good. Now, Langata Road is not looking so good. Still the same. Traffic starts at Onyonka, coming all the way down towards... No, it's no longer Mbagathi. It's Raila Odinga Way. And then Mombasa Road at South Sea, it's still not looking so good, although it's improving. Earlier it was starting at Bellevue, now it's gone all the way to just around Capital Centre. Heading towards town, between going to Bunyala Road roundabout, it's not a joke, especially from Bunyala Road heading towards Haile Selassie. Not good at all. Coming towards Kenyatta Avenue, inbound towards town, not good at all. Thika Road, you know what's happening. All the way from Survey to Pangani, it's crazy. And then from Kiambu Road coming towards Pangani as well, crazy. After that, Muranga Road is so clear you won't believe it. So try and just exercise some patience. Jogoo Road is not good at all the way Makadara, coming towards Hamza, coming to Kaloleni, into the City Stadium roundabout, not looking so good. There has been an issue this morning at City Cabanas. It's still there. So City Cabanas, after the interchange, it's not looking very, very good as you come towards town. But just exercise patience. We haven't seen anything that is a major reason apart from the school accidents earlier. Everything else is looking okay. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
It's
Situation
8 minutes after
Room,
8. Good
the
morning.
only way
How
to
are you
start
doing?
your
Welcome
day.
to Friday. We're just getting up out of bed. It's the 12th day of November 2021, and we are here. This is the third hour of the show. We've been here since 6 a.m. We're here until 10. City Muga has the day's proverb. 2 words.
Muyu Ndwalasia. The English translation is 4 words. Joy does not ache.
Joy does not ache.
Yes. The Kikamba version of joy does not ache is Muyu Ndwalasia. 2 words. See how much you gain in translation? 2 becomes 4.
Yes. So what does this proverb mean anyway?
You know,
what's your translation of this proverb?
Actually, my understanding of it is actually quite profound in my own eyes. Right. Non-limited understanding. It is speaking truth to a simple fact of life, but giving it a twist that now makes the obvious appear to be even more obvious. Okay? For instance, someone cannot say that they are bringing joy to your life when every time you see them or you encounter them, all you think of is misery. Or all they represent is pain. Then they can't be very useful to you. Okay? And I was thinking of how our government keeps telling us about the things they're doing for us and how our lives are going to be better. But with every utterance, my life, it doesn't get better. It actually gets worse. So I'm thinking, no. Why is this joy aching? Okay? Here they are saying, we're doing this, we're reducing this. The next thing, nothing has been reduced. In fact, if anything, you're paying more, and I'm thinking, now this is painful. So
the next time the government tells you this is for your own benefit, tell them, Muga Ndu Okoh.
Yes, but I'll look for an even more appropriate Kamba proverb with an insult in it. That is what I'll direct towards them.
Okay, let's talk about pension and saving for retirement. Maybe that's where Muyo will actually now be able to complete its all joy and nothing else. Christine Karoki is the head of pensions at UAP Old Mutual. She joins us now in the Situation Room. Good morning, Christine. Welcome. It's good to see you. It's good to have you in the show. And we are glad that you were able to join us this morning. So, having woken up early to come and join us, we're not going to make this a very difficult session for you. We'll make it a very, very nice and easy session for you. You're coming to teach us and explain to us why people need to start saving for retirement, and then what the benefits are, and the various ways in which one can save, and then the various ways in which one can enjoy the benefit. So you've been in this industry for a while, I presume. For you to be head of pensions at UAP Old Mutual.
Well, I've been around a little bit.
19
years or so. That's not a lot. I'm just getting to the middle of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
19 years.
Yeah.
Just talking about pensions.
Yeah. No,
or just
in total, in the financial sector, which is insurance. Because we are in the financial sector.
All right.
And that's the perspective you always have to, that whether the sector is to provide a solution and financial security. So I've been in it, left university, you know how it is in Kenya. Sometimes you struggle with vision, direction, placing yourself, finding a job. And so I was fortunate enough through my own personal initiative to be employed by an insurance broker. I did leave science. I did a Bachelor of Science at Chiromo. But my view is that you are trained for a discipline, but it has skill sets. And skill sets are transferable between disciplines. So I transferred my skill sets to insurance.
All right.
So I did start generally in general insurance, did what we call medical insurance also, a bit of administration. Then as I developed in my career, while I was still in insurance broking, I did experience what we call employee benefits, where you look at a range of benefits that employees can receive. And this is mostly corporates. I'd not had a vision for retail then. And so I did work in that. And then when I moved to my second job, I did work in pensions for quite a bit. And then for 3 years, I then went back into insurance, which is corporate insurance for employees. But now I'm back to my first love, which is retirement benefits.
You call it first love. Why?
Because for me, I feel when I talk to people and I give them the vision that I have for pensions, I feel my heart beats. And I feel, when you walk away from someone and you've had a conversation, and not just on retirement, you feel, that warmth in your heart, your mind and your heart connect, and you feel you've done something. And for me, I live by the motto that the values I have as a person should be the things I do on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I get to do. Give people solutions. Sometimes it doesn't end up to what I'm employed to do, but basically if I can give you an idea, if I can give you a scope, if I can give you a perspective that helps you form a goal. And for me, a lot of the goal is people shouldn't be leaving employment and they have no bread on their table. People should not leave employment and you're going mashambani and it's blank. You're the same as a 20-year-old. You've worked for 30 years, but your future is blank. When I'm going to work or I'm walking, I see a watchman. He's 60 years. This man did work, but he can't stop working because he needs to place food on the table. So there are those things you look at people in society and let me use Kiswahili, zinakukwaruza, you feel in there, down, something is wrong. So that's why I'm saying that's the thing I wake up to do.
The concept, the very idea of insurance, when you hear it, it sounds really good. When you're told about it, the person who wants to sell a policy to you and wants to explain it to you, it is beautiful. But what I often wonder is something this wonderful and this beautiful, why is it that more people haven't taken it up? Is it because it's not affordable for most people? Is it that it isn't tailor-made to suit the needs of the majority of people who may not have the sort of money that is required? Or is it that it isn't sold or packaged in a way that people find attractive enough? Because if I look at the database of KRA and the people whom KRA manages to tax, it means those people have something that they can tax. And only a very small fraction of those people are insured. Very small fraction. Why? As I was saying earlier, Eric, a very small fraction of those people also are bankable. They have bank accounts. So what is it about this product which on its own is actually a good product, and why is it that other people don't buy into it? It's what concerns me, because the pension then comes later. You start off when you're young, so the idea of that future becomes easy. But unfortunately, again, for most Kenyans, people live from hand to mouth on a daily basis. So when you tell them save, you tell them pension, they say, good idea, but save what exactly?
Okay, very valid points. But I'd just like to maybe split the opinion. When you look at insurance, there is what is called risk, which is what we buy. Like I had a conversation about motor insurance or medical insurance. Then there is savings. And savings usually are when you put money aside and this person has promised you that they will invest it on your behalf within certain parameters and then give it back to you. Now, City, you've raised a very key point. Why is it that Kenyans are not taking up these good things? So I think this is my opinion based on my understanding. One, there's a lot of penetration is because of lack of penetration is because very few people, if you talk about it, the urban population in Kenya is like 20% of the whole population of Kenya. So you find knowledge is not very widespread. And the responsibility of spreading this knowledge should not be left to the government only. We, even as people in insurance, the insurance companies, other stakeholders should be able to talk to people. And you'll find that where effort has been made, if you look at people like, say, crop insurance, livestock insurance, in areas like Kitale, it's very heavily taken because these people know the risk of what they're doing, and someone has taken the initiative to go there, talk to them, they see the value of it, they have experienced it, and they have seen it come back to them. Now, the same principle applies to someone like me. By virtue of the fact that I'm in insurance, I know that insurance works, so I pick up policies that work. Additionally, there's the issue of full disclosure. Someone will come and I'll tell you, Eric, I have this thing. You put in 1,000 a month, you will get
10 million.
10 million in 10 years. But I don't tell you, by the way, if you stop before the third year, you will lose. You will not have any value of whatever you've started.
Yes.
You need to continue for this period of time. I also need to tell you that the investment return is averaging at 4%. Then you, as an individual of sound mind, will say, but if I put my 1,000 in a T-bill, I will earn 7.5% because that's what they're averaging. Then you'll be like, why would I invest in 4%?
Yep.
So then I tell you, by the way, the 4% is just a risk. there's a portion of it that is insured, and that's why you're earning a lower than a T-bill. If X happens to you, this extra
Before
value,
the expiry of the term,
this extra value will go to your beneficiary. So there's also the issue of full disclosure. Additionally, fit for market products. We have traditional ways of actuarial reviewing. Now I'm talking about risk, which is outside of savings. And sometimes if you're dealing with someone in Gikomba, they want to save 20 shillings a day. But when they are viewed, they are high risk in terms of the way the risk is. So then it's very hard to craft a product for this person because of the traditional views. So it's a transition because these products are coming out. They are not very well known, but I know in a few years, people will have fit for market product because even our market is different from Europe. So our products need to be also...
They need to be different.
They need to be different.
They need to be tailored to this market, for this market.
Yeah.
Christine, if we look at the number of people who've taken up, who are in pension,
not
those who are in pension because it's a benefit in employment, but those who individually have decided, I'm in a pension scheme, I'm going to join a pension. How many are we talking about?
I wouldn't have the numbers.
You can estimate.
In terms of percentage.
You've been around for a while. I'm just going to use your own words against you now.
In your journey around, the
statistics are not, I don't have the statistics, but what I would say is that the individuals who save in retirement funds are not, a lot of them, if I can say, are coming from employed offices.
Okay.
Not some of them in the informal sector, but I would like to say that majority, and this is my estimation based on the profile of the clients I have seen in individual plans, are already in employed schemes. Why? Because employers will look at it and say, so we are a 3-tier system in Kenya. So you have the NSSF, then you have employment-based schemes, which is occupational and umbrella, and then you have the individual plans. So you've asked about the individual plan. So you find this person has worked for various employers. So if anything happened to you, my family would not know my first employer was company ABC. So what they do is we do consolidation. So as you move to different employers, the benefits you've accrued from previous employers, you consolidate into one fund. So that forms also majority of the schemes. Then you have maybe employers who are not registered in Kenya, and they're saying, as in your contract or even consultants, you will have a benefit. So you find the company you want to participate in, you find the employer you want to be with, and then you open a plan and I will make my contribution to it. The other is you have now individuals who the employer does not give them benefits. So they say, okay, I don't have a benefit, but I need to take up a plan, because if the returns are averaging maybe 8% and other schemes are averaging 10%, it's a good return. And I'm looking at a 5-year. If you look at medium term, you're looking at 5 years. There's also look at 10 years. And then there's the 30-year timeline. So they said, I want to invest. So they start it on their own. So I would say, if you look at the population between occupational schemes and personal plans maybe contribute around 30%. And then majority of the profile of those are people who are already employed. The challenge has always been Kamau hardware. Convincing, as it is said, convincing this person that you and your staff need to have a 10-year timeline of retirement. It's just happy. Yeah, because it's very, when you talk to informal people, because these are the people I talk to on a daily basis.
So what is it that, what's this barrier?
The barrier is, first, is my money safe?
Okay.
Will I get my money? So that's the first barrier. The second is I find lack of understanding. So break down. Don't speak technical to this person. Don't give them a brochure. Give them point 1, you do this. Point 2, you do this. Point 3, you do this. And then after a year, review with them. And you find you get converts. I've talked to a flower guy, the guy who sells me flowers on Ngong Road. And some while back, and we had a conversation, and I asked him, Mr. Maura, what do you do? You have all these people you employ, but you yourself, what do you do? And we had a conversation. And his was, okay, so I save. Then I said, if you save in an individual plan, you save project-based. You don't have to have a 30-year timeline. So you're saving for 5 years and then you access those benefits because the law does allow. And so he said, okay, and he started. And so I think genuine conversations without hiding the beats and, and having technical
You've repeated
language.
that a number of times, and I'm very happy that you're repeating that. Disclosure, full disclosure, hiding, technical jargon, small print. We'll talk about that when we come back out of this break. It's 25 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We're talking about pension today. So we had a conversation earlier about insurance and insurance products and diversifying products and even using technology to diversify insurance products. Today, let's talk about the same things, but now pension. Pension products, pension plans, using technology, diversifying pension products and plans, and how we sell them. With us in the studio is Christine Karoki. She is the head of pensions at UAP Old Mutual. Keep it right here for more conversations coming up after this quick break when you take a look at the weather and traffic. Good morning. We're live on KTN Home, SpiceFM, and we are online.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Judicial is Jeshi Lawoko?
I can't say it very well, but
and everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so Nairobi, today's temperature is just going to be a bit better than yesterday's. Mostly clear skies at 27 degrees. Currently it's 20. How's it going to look like in Mombasa? Light rains in Mombasa today. 32 is a high and lows of 25. In Kisumu, partly sunny day at 30. Malindi, light rains at 31. Nyeri, cloudy day at 25. Nakuru, mostly sunny day at 28. And if you go to Eldoret, partly sunny day at 25. And Kakamega, partly sunny day at 29. In Kampala, partly sunny day at 29 as well. Lagos, Nigeria, mostly clear skies at 31. Johannesburg, South Africa, partly sunny day at 28. Dar es Salaam, light rains at 32. Kinshasa, light rains at 33. London, mostly cloudy day at 15. Beijing, sunny day at 15. New York, 18 with cloudy days. I'd seen an alert online earlier about accident at the current roundabout. Matatu lost brakes descending at the hub slope, ramming into several cars and a roadside trader. That doesn't look good at all. That was about 40 minutes ago. Let's know whether this has been cleared and then we'll announce it to everybody else. Mombasa Road still coming to town is pretty much clear today, apart from that nonsense at Mlolongo, which now stretches all the way to, past, it's very, very far. Syokimau, Katani, it's looking really, really bad as you approach Mlolongo. And then you come, it's going to be clear towards the SGR. into North Airport Road, not so bad. And then under near Imara Daima, it's busy. When you come to South Sea, it's also very busy. Langata Road is not looking so bad. Well, it is. It's looking very bad. As you head towards the Raila Odinga, I still have to get to my mind to know it's Raila Odinga Way. As you get to Raila Odinga Way, it's not so good from the southern bypass on Langata Road all the way towards that section. Thika Road and Kiambu Road, I don't need to tell you anything. It's just bad. But after that, after Pangani, it's clear. Muranga Road is clear. Wangari Maathai Road is clear. Anything else that we need to talk about? SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Conversation continues at 8:30. This is the Situation Room. With you in the room this morning is Eric Latiff, CT Muga, and our guest, Christine Karoki, Head of Pensions at UAP Old Mutual. We are talking about the importance of saving for retirement. Christine, as we were talking about this, you're saying you're passionate and you go and talk to people and you're telling them the benefits that they are likely to get out of saving for retirement. And this is the difference. This is saving with an insurance component as opposed to just taking insurance. And if you don't claim, the year goes, it goes. This is saving. When you go to the person, for example, that you refer to, Njoroge Hardware, and you are telling them, you can take up some scheme, a plan for your retirement benefit and also bring in your staff into it. They're looking at you and they're thinking, you want my money and you want me to give you money on behalf of my staff. You're competing for the same amount in the wallet with others. Who are these that you're competing against?
So the share of wallet you're looking for in the Kenyan scenario would be SACCOs, because they're well entrenched and they do work in terms of people being able to access credit and loans. You're also looking at table banking, which is very wide in the informal sector, the merry-go-rounds. You're looking at a normal bank. People feel secure putting their money in a bank. You're looking at different scenarios, even family associations. They're very popular for us. You'd be surprised that Kenyans then have never thought about NSSF. They know they put money in NSSF. They've never thought, if I take 400 times 12 times 30 years, I end up with 144,000 Kenya shillings at the end of the period. So that's who we are competing with. So you have to show value to this person. You have to show security, and you have to show the reason why this is one of the options. I'm not saying it's the only option, because when you're planning for your retirement, you look at a whole aspect of it. First of all, there's a financial aspect, there's the emotional, and then you plan what to do. Because many people get there and they're like, okay, now I need to think, do I have an activity? And I'll say this mainly because we've also done post-retirement in terms of working with the regulator and consultants in the market to just sit with people who are 45 years and above and just have a conversation and say, where are you at in your headspace? And it's because I'm on the financial side, I've also understood that it's also important to look at other aspects. And you find, sorry to say this, that they're women, because they have all these other activities, life just moves on. And the men go home and they're lost because you didn't
lose identity, lose purpose, lose everything.
They might have the financial security, but there's, yes, you've said a very key identity. Are you working on your identity? Because a lot of us, even when you go for social functions, hi, I'm Christine Karoki, UAP. No, I'm not Christine Karoki, UAP. That is one facet of my life. What other facets of your life are you going to drive after you're gainfully employed, or if you're an entrepreneur and you've slowed down, you're not going in 5 days. Someone has taken over the business, maybe your children. So that generally is it. Now,
when you want to introduce a product like, say, pensions to an individual, that Njoroge hardware, it really got me thinking, because it reminded me of actually a friend whom I have. And he had an hardware, and I immediately thought of him, and I thought of somebody going for insurance. I started laughing because I realized you're not going to sell that thing to that guy. But part of the reason is because, and this is the question I want to ask, do you get to find out who this potential client, or how this potential client views this subject of retirement? Do you get to find out how they understand insurance and what? Because when Eric talked about the competition, you can look at it as a barrier. The barrier here is not ignorance necessarily on their part, but on your part, because you may be talking to them about something which they think they have. But because you're talking on cross purposes, and you are introducing the subject as you understand it, and he also, she understands the way they do, yet if you understood what these individuals understood by this very concept and what it is they thought they ought to do with it, then the very product that you want to introduce could be tailor-made and introduced in a far easier way that makes it easy to accept.
Yes. So I'll tell you for a fact, I don't speak on a product basis when I'm going to visit somebody or when I'm having a conversation on retirement. I speak from a solution perspective, which is what you've spoken into. This person is looking to save. This person is looking to grow their money. This person is looking to have security. So in essence, what you're saying is, you look at this person and ask, what do you want to achieve? If I'm looking at a 30-year-old, someone starting out in work, someone getting established, they do not have a concept of death. They do not have a concept of benefits for beneficiaries. They do not have a concept of retirement. Retirement is an abstract concept to them that does not make sense. So for this person, you tell them, look here, this is a fund you can put money. This fund is a tax shelter. So you will reduce your tax liability from any work you do or any salary you receive from your employer. When you're getting this money, you did have a tax benefit in that the money went in tax-free. The income is not taxed. At the end of it all, there are tax-free advantages and then the taxation on it. So it means that you reduce tax on an investment you've had. If you had invested it from your salary. Secondly, you're telling this person, what do you want to achieve? I want to be going on holidays. So you have a 3-year timeline. Do you want to accumulate? So you goal set. And I think for every person who wants to save, whether in a SACCO, whether in a retirement fund, it's always about goal setting. If I'm talking to a 40, 45, 50-year-old, what they're looking at is they're saying, okay, so I've done all these different things. And you could be financially secure. But then you're talking about what's your portfolio like? 80% of your assets are in land. So you ask the person, is this how you should be spread? If you started putting money in cash accessible, and this is a cash accessible, just like a unit trust or a bond, then you're in a better position. Secondly, you find that there are people who, I know, for myself, because I've worked and I'm not a business person, taking money and then you can invest. You have a bit of knowledge. But I know when I get to the end of it, I'm building up a fund because I want to convert it. Somebody will invest it on my behalf, and every month I receive a certain amount of money. So I've goal set and said, as Christine, I don't want to get the whole lump sum I've saved. I will give someone over in the provision, and this is now what we call post-retirement. And they will do their work for investing, and me, all I need to do is get a projection. So right now I've looked at a projection and said, if I have 10 million, roughly I'll get between 95 and 98,000 a month as a salary for the rest of my life, what we call annuitization. So then that means, I need to build. If I want anything above that, if I want to get 10 to 10 million, that is how much I'll get. So I goal set. Then I say, all these other endeavors you do, because we speak from a holistic point of view, And if you're doing it right, you will speak also to your client about financial literacy, not just consuming the product. Right now, you talked about technology and platforms. A lot of the changes that we have also done is to allow that you have what we call financial wellness. So you find that when a client, you have sessions and activities with these clients of yours that allow them to build up knowledge and a bit of muscle, so that then it's not just this one thing. You're not giving them a full stop solution, but you're giving them around a part or a piece that gears them towards financial security.
So really, the person you want to talk to is not necessarily the person who's employed, because the person who's employed has already been introduced to some of these products. Employment affords you, in many cases, insurance. It affords you pension in one form or the other. So this is somebody who, if you talk to, they're already familiar with the subject. But somebody who isn't in, should we say, paid employment, on the other hand, this is not something that they deal with. If they had been in employment, they would be. And yet, right now as we speak, conventional banks are also now offering literally everything that you people offer. Just like you people are also literally almost pretending to offer what banks offer for financial services. So, how then, when somebody hears this messaging, because they start wondering, okay, so an insurance company is a financial institution. It actually is. And insurance companies even tend to have even more money than banks. Now, many people don't seem to know that, but it's true, they do. Okay? Because their money just tends to sit there. It tends to. I am speaking as a layman. Now, the question I asked earlier is what I still want to ask. How do you get this person? Not when they start employment, because that already, they've already figured out what they want to do and how they want to do it. What does your industry do to ensure that these products, these concepts that are useful, that are good, that are beneficial, are part and parcel of the understanding of somebody who has a future in business or unemployment? Meaning, from the point when they are still at school, what does insurance industry do? Because in my mind, that's where you get this person to understand this concept.
You're actually right in terms of where the knowledge should start trickling down to. It is the person who is a teenager, so that they understand where they're going and what they need to do. So a lot of it, you find that there are partnerships. They're not to the level that should be there. There are partnerships where people sponsor events. They go into schools and they do talk to people. But I did start by saying that awareness is one of our key challenges in terms of bridging that gap of reaching people. And what I would, in my own opinion, say is that we've not reached that level.
Why?
Because, well, City right now, I don't think I'd have a very concrete and analytical analyzed answer to that. Maybe because initiatives have not been as successful and breaking down information, but I do know what work has been done. So if you find that if you search for all platforms, you talked about technology. So websites have been improved quite a bit, and you find that they're able to get you information on these products.
Okay.
Additionally, if you look at initiatives that are running with various associations, whether it's IHRM, whether it's accountants, lawyers association, these are associations where members usually set up their own shop, doctors. So there's a lot that has gone into working with those associations so that the information and the knowledge is trickling down to their bodies. And you find that for all of their CPD learnings or their conferences, there's part and parcel insurance or a circle right there having a conversation with these people, because we've recognized that it is very important to have a conversation with these people. Now, in terms focusing on retirement benefits, I give kudos to the regulator. We do partner with them quite a bit. Like right now, we are discussing open initiative that's supposed to be in Kisumu. We do go to places, Mandela, Kisumu, and you sit, and it's like like how ASK show used to be, like a fair. And you get masses and masses of the public coming through, and people get information and knowledge. We haven't been able to penetrate everywhere, but I do say that this has been happening quite a bit.
I think the effort is laudable, but you see, the regulator is a part of government. Okay? Now let me tell you where I was going with this. All these initiatives that are part and parcel of our lives and that play a really important role. This is a view, it's a pet view that I have, and I always express it. It ought to be made part of the education system from an early age. And when I bring in the government, you see, the conversation you also ought to have is the Institute of Curriculum Development. Why am I telling you this? I look at countries, first world countries, where this is part and parcel of everyday life. And it's not something somebody even second guesses. It is known, it is understood. Now, they have declining populations. We have growing populations. So those who actually pay for the upkeep are fewer than those who need the upkeep. Those countries have it in inverse. Now, should we not perhaps take a more proactive perspective on this subject, given the burden that we have? Because those, again, paying for these are infinitely fewer than those who need it. Now, those who can form the basis of the foundational structure on which you can then build the future of this business. When you look at it, it looks like they're the consumers. No, but I look at it from a marketing perspective. It's a huge market that is untapped. And I'm saying, forgive me, you people are holding this particular broom from the wrong end.
In terms of reaching out to the younger generation.
No, not reaching out. The reaching out is good. It's on conceptualizing how you ought to reach out. The reaching out, that's a detail of we have a fair, we do this, is good. But it has to be a wholesome thing that is always continuous. It doesn't require a once-in-a-year activity for it to actually make sense. It will be something that people take as a norm and something that they discuss on a daily basis. So the discussion ought to be, okay, so what should I take as a preference? But taking it is a given, I must. Because it's important. It's not...
You are correct. That a lot of things are done when someone is a teenager and forms habits that become part of society norms. And this is where where you're giving the proposal of going into even to the depth of curriculum development.
Yes.
As a sustainable program.
Yes.
That continues
Yes.
onwards.
Yes. We keep talking about how it is we want to empower the youth to be innovative and what have you and what have you.
Yeah.
Your industry is a key cog in that. And innovation and all this thinking, you ask yourself, so what have we done to include that aspect into our curriculum? See, if the business component and the thinking therein is not part of your curriculum from an early age, so when do you want these people to be thinking in terms of business? When they've already made up their minds about what they want to do? Or do you want it to be just part of what they do when they're growing up, so that when they talk about options, it's fairly formed in their minds and they know, and there's certain things they will do, just as a matter of course. What do you want to do if you really want to tackle the problem?
Change habits in society.
And when do you start?
At infancy.
Hey.
I'm with you. I'm with you quite a bit. I'm with
So
you.
I guess the challenge here is just for the industry. Yes, there's the regulator, the RBA, which is doing the work that it's doing. But then there's the industry and the role of industry in advocacy and making sure that these things are started much earlier. If the attitude of the industry is not this of sitting back and saying, okay, let's not spend so much effort making the money. So Christine will have her team and they'll be going and speaking to people, and already employment-based pension schemes are big because, among other things, there's a requirement for an employer to take care of their workers and all, and there are these things that we call benefits. So it comes in as part of all that. But if you took the initiative to launch these programs, and there's advocacy for awareness creation. For example, when Christine was leaving university, did she know what she knows today about insurance?
Christine did not know. She's had to build up that
Yes.
knowledge through experience and exposure, which is
And
what
Christine's age mates who are not in insurance don't have the kind of knowledge that Christine has, right?
they don't. I'm a focal point of reference for very
Exactly.
many people.
That's the challenge that we now have.
Mhm.
Now then, it makes your work much harder when you're coming to try and sell me insurance, because I'm looking at not insurance but pension, but insurance, but pension has an insurance. I'm like, what do you want? How much money? For how long? If I put that money in the circle, I can go and get a loan within 3 months. You're telling me 3 years locked in, do that. Too many stories. You see, you have a much harder approach to convince Eric to take up an insurance plan. That point, I'm sure, has sunk, and you've said, yes, you agree. Now, let's talk about the kind of products that we have in the market. Do we have, you mentioned this earlier, fit-for-market products in the pension area, in the pension industry?
I truly believe we do.
Mm.
And this is why. Because what you put in is what you get. The only thing that is added is an income.
Mm.
Now, fit for market is because you've looked at the whole aspect of people. So let's separate the government institution and just look at people who are working every day,
Yep.
whether in formal employment or in informal employment. So they're the employer-based schemes based on company policies.
Mm-hmm.
But then I want to concentrate on individual plans. Individual plans are where you're, as an individual, whether you're putting in money from previous employers or whether you're starting as an individual, you put in money.
Mm.
Now, the rules across the market are the same because the regulator is the same. And one of the key things we're very clear about retirement benefits is the issue of governance and compliance in terms of ensuring that people's money is safe.
Mm.
So fit for the client is in this aspect. The timelines are flexible. Contributions are flexible. You do get your tax advantage in that you save on taxation.
Mm.
And then access is applicable. Own contributions are not locked. You can access them. And so if you're saying, I want to do 2 years to save for a car, you do it. I want to save 3 years. And the law does not allow that there are penalties. Those are prohibited.
Okay.
Because it's not risk, it's not insurance. It's pure savings. It's pure put your money, this person invests. Additionally, information is available in terms of performance of different funds. So you will be able to see on the regulator, whether insurance or retirement benefits, you'll be able to see performance of funds. And you'll be able to make an informed decision and say, this person is joking. Again, the fit for market is portability. So here you are, and you feel, I'm not feeling, I go to the website, it's crashed, I can't see my statement. I call, nobody picks my call. Portability, within 30 days, you move your money to your provider of next choice.
So you can move from one provider to another.
You do move from one provider to the other. The other thing I want to say is the security of the funds in terms of it's not considered part of your legal estate. So in the event of untimely demise, as we politely call it, these funds cannot go for administration. So you did fill an application, you did nominate beneficiaries, and with the rules of financial assets as they are right now and financial conduct, those people we do vet and check, and then those people are the people who will be paid this money in the event you're not there.
So also in the event of bankruptcy, this
they cannot be attached.
They will not touch this.
You cannot even assign it as an asset to a bank loan. So there's very high security attached to it. You did talk about SACCOs. Members will look and say, but I can borrow 3 times my money.
Yep.
But then you need guarantors. So also I would say that the industry has really tried. So investments can be in 2 forms. You can have a moderate profile, what we call a guaranteed fund, or higher risk profile, what we call segregated funds. So you find that even the performance of those funds are above inflation. And then when you remove inflation, the real returns are quite reasonable. So you find then you're talking about the guaranteed funds are averaging around 8% for the last, you take a 10-year average. Segregated for us would be averaging around 11.5%. And it's because of the risk profile. So you find that if you're looking at that and you're saying, okay, then I can do this. I save on tax, I get a good return. There's nobody can attach these benefits from out there and come and say this person has a loan or the family is fighting. These issues can go to court.
So there's a great benefit to all these things of thinking the pension route as one way of factoring in your retirement. And this is one that you'd say, when you're thinking about retirement, this then pension be up there, then all the others can come in.
You do have different avenues because then you have different people have different needs.
Yep.
But the key thing we always say is goal set. A lot of us fail because we don't goal set. As City said, knowledge. By the time the knowledge is finding you, you're 45 years old.
Yeah.
It should have found you at 20, or you should have been an intrinsic part of your life, knowing that you're going to start this at 20. So, yeah.
Goal setting. That's a very important point. Let's say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. You've been with us since the top of the hour. It's now 5 minutes to 9. We are live on SpiceFM 94.4 Nairobi, Mombasa. It's 87.9. 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, and 97.7 in Malindi. Christine Karoki, head of finance, head of pensions at the UAP Old Mutual. Is a conversation we've been having is about importance of saving for retirement. Please think about it, and like Christine is saying, set a goal. It's important. Start from there. What's a goal? This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
All right,
FM.
4 minutes
Nairobi.
to 9. As we conclude the conversation and say goodbye to Christine, who has been visiting us this morning. The importance of pension, you've told us. What kind of products are these that you have at UAP Old Mutual that you say, okay, so I can consider this, and the other? And by the way, as you were talking about the way I can make money out of this, or how I can get benefits out of this, I remember the conversation we had with the regulator, Retirement Benefits Authority, and there's the issue of using part of your pension to also build a house or own a home. You can mention that as well.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, we have a whole basket, and we are uniquely placed as a company because of the financial acumen. UAP has been around since 1921 or thereabout, the Old Mutual Group, and UAP a bit later, and then there was the merger. So we do have corporate products, and under the corporate products, you have standalone schemes which are occupational, where the employer forms his own scheme, runs his own scheme. Then we do have what we call umbrella products, which is a development way later, 10 years after the law came in. From the recognition that employers do not want everyday running of the scheme, it's quite a task in terms of compliance, time, expenses. So an umbrella product will allow diverse employers to join an already existing scheme. So as the group, the Old Mutual Group, we've set up 2 umbrella schemes, one for the guaranteed and one for the segregated, again, based on your investment profile. And what we do is then you join in and you enjoy the benefits of scale. Say, for example, you join a scheme that is at 2.7 billion. You're investing at that level instead of starting at the first contribution would be $1 million. So your investment would be $1 million if you are standing alone. So those are the corporate schemes. And then we do have what we call the individual personal pension plans. And again, this would cater for either segregated or guaranteed, depending on the choice you have. Now, recent development, there was amendment because the Act did have the mortgage regulations. So there was amendment in 2019, Gazetted 2020. So what they do require is that if you've accumulated a fund, your scheme should amend the rules to allow that as a member of this retirement scheme, you can access 40% of your accumulated benefits to go towards the purchase of a mortgage. So essentially, this was towards linking with affordable housing initiative. And also for general mortgages that are out there. So you find a bank, you're buying a house, it's 8 million.
Yeah.
The bank will only give you 5 million. You've got to raise 3 million. And you have a retirement fund of 4 million? So if you take that, then you can access almost a million in terms of, so then the scheme, or because schemes are run as trust funds, the trustees of that scheme then would allow that you as an individual will access this money. They will vet, approve, the money will move, and then there will be a second charge on your property. There's a charge for the bank, and there's a charge for the scheme.
Christine, we thank you very much for joining us today. Come again soon. Let's talk about the very many programs that you have, right? And the products. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Good morning. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka says political tolerance must be exercised by all leaders and that Kenyans must be allowed to express their ideas and positions in every part of their country. The Wiper leader noted that on numerous occasions he has allowed other political leaders, including Deputy President William Ruto, ODM leader Raila Odinga, to visit his backyard and sell their ideas without erecting any impediment. He challenged his colleagues to practice the same. The government intends to build a total of 129 classrooms in Kwale County, a plan that will promote the implementation of the CBC curriculum. The construction of these classrooms, which are being implemented in high schools, comes after the government announced the construction of a total of 10,000 classrooms across the country at a cost of 8.1 billion shillings. Kwale Commissioner Gideon Oyagi has said that a total of 47 classrooms will be built in Matuga. In Lungalunga, a total of 26 classrooms will be built. In Sambweni, 24 classrooms. Kinangwa and Samburu, 16 classrooms. Construction is expected to be completed by April next year. Now, parents of students at Kakamega Boys High School will pay 21.6 million shillings for damages incurred on the institution's premises following a fire that occurred on November 6, 2021. In a notice, the school's administration ordered students to report back between November 15th and November 25th, accompanied by their parents. Each student will be required to pay 9,823 to cover the damages, clear all outstanding school fees, and present the banking slips on the reporting days. According to the school, the grand total of the damages amounted to 21,611,360, which was divided equally among the 2,200 learners at the institution. 1 million youth are set to benefit from a training that will equip them with digital skills which can be outsourced by companies in Kenya. The collaboration between the ICT Ministry, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance and Absa Bank Kenya will provide the youth with digital skills as part of the Ajira Digital and Ready to Work programs. ICT Administration Secretary Lucy Mulili lauded the initiative, saying it will go a long way in enhancing the employability of the youth by equipping them with the digital skills required to access online jobs. Now, the National Assembly has questioned the capacity of the Senate to conduct an inquiry on the standoff between the Ministry of Sports and the Football Kenya Federation. The Senate Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare had on Tuesday last week summoned the CS to appear before it to answer to queries over her directive to the sports registrar to undertake an inspection of Football Kenya Federation. But in a sharp rejoinder, the counterparts at the National Assembly have disagreed with the decision, saying Senate lacks constitutional mandate and authority to initiate such a process. Led by Webuye West Member of Parliament and former volleyballer Dan Wanyama, they urged the National Assembly Sports Committee to take up the matter and investigate claims of embezzlement of funds meant to help in the growth of soccer in Kenya.
On the onset, I want to say this. Looking at the Constitution, and already my colleagues had referred to, I want to advise the Senate that the only time they have got to touch matter concerning sport is when it is like an entertainment in the Gaundi government. But as far as management and the development of sports is concerned, it is this House and it is our committee that has got to deal with it. So I want to advise the CS that don't even honor the summons that you are being called by the committee of the Senate to go and appear to them, because they have no mandate to do that as it were.
Now, former Harambee Stars and Luton Town FC player Taiwo Atieno has been appointed commercial director by the Kenya Premier League Limited. The resolution to appoint Taiwo was made by the directors of the KPL on November 2nd, 2021. Taiwo played professional football for 15 years in England and the USA. He retired in 2013 and embarked on working in the private equity sector, restructuring and building companies in England, USA and Kenya for investment. And Aston Villa's swift and sleek appointment of Rangers manager Steven Gerrard as successor to the sacked Dean Smith suggests this was a move that did not require a great deal of persuasion on either side. Villa executive Christian Paslow knows Gerrard well from his time as Liverpool managing director, and the club immediately made him their number one target, having had their admiration reaffirmed by his work in Glasgow, winning Rangers' first title in a decade. Gerrard, meanwhile, had no hesitation in returning to the Premier League with Villa, a club of stability and ambition where he will be guaranteed financial support from the owners Nassif Sawiris and Wes Edens. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so it's 9, and you know what's happening? Things are thick. Landis Road into Haile Selassie Avenue coming towards town up to the Moi Avenue roundabout. Things are thick. Haile Selassie Avenue out of Moi Avenue heading towards Uhuru Highway. Things are thick. We're talking about town. Globe Cinema roundabout coming into town. Things are thick. Westlands coming to town from Museum Hill Interchange onto University roundabout. Things are thick. Kenyatta Avenue heading out towards Westlands, towards the University roundabout. Things are thick. Now let's come back to where the problems were earlier this morning. And this is Langata Road coming towards Mbagathi Way. It's still thick up to Wilson Airport. So from, let's say, the Dam Estate in Nairobi, going all the way towards Wilson Airport, it's still chaotic. Mombasa Road is now not looking so good after General Motors coming along where we are at South Standard Group Center heading towards town. It's not good at all. But then Kiambu Road, and how we know Kiambu Road and Thika Road at Pangani, it's also not looking so good. So it is that time again when everybody's getting into town at the same time. So all roads into the CBD are looking chock-a-block.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching
8
up.
minutes after 9 on the 12th day of November 2021. Welcome to the final hour of the Situation Room this week. And we begin with 2 words from C.T. Muga in Kikamba.
Muyu ndwalasia.
Kwisha.
Done. But value addition.
Uh-huh.
In English,
in
forward.
English.
In English, forwards. Joy does not ache.
Joy does not ache.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely Kamba proverb. Lovely Kamba proverb. Joy does not ache. It's aching for Mwendwa. Nick Mwendwa, the chairman, the president of the Football Kenya Federation. Because of why? Because of what the Cabinet Secretary for Sports has done. She has basically taken over operations at FKF, sacks FKF officials over graft, and appoints a caretaker committee. Accusations of misappropriation of government grants and funds from the World Football Governing Body FIFA forced Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed to send packing officials of Football Kenya Federation. While addressing the media after installing a caretaker committee to be chaired by retired Justice Aaron Ringera, Amina said she took the action based on recommendations of an inspection report on FKF finances. She said, when Kenyans finally get to see the entire report, they'll see the extent of misappropriation of government grants and also money from external donors, including FIFA. The probe was conducted in accordance with the law. We were not going to do it haphazardly. We were not going to be ad hoc. We had to be systematic to follow the law and all the procedures that exist. The 16-day probe, according to the CS, revealed massive misappropriation of public funds that warranted immediate action. The probe committee encountered reluctant FKF officials who refused to provide some important documentation. So what has she done? She has basically decided, nyinyi wote FKF, nyumbani. Caretaker committee, bring in retired Justice of the Court of Appeal, Aaron Ringera, and tell him, take charge. Bring in other personalities in this team. And the other personalities include KTN anchor Linda Ogutu. It also includes somebody who did some good work with rugby, Mr. Muthui. What's his name?
Mwangi
Muthui. And others who have been in sport, people who've been in football. Name the other members of the task force.
There's a committee. There's Aaron Ringera. There's JJ Masiga.
Footballer.
Rugby player. Very well known.
JJ Masiga.
Played for the country.
Yes.
In both those sports.
In both rugby and football.
Bobby Ogola, again.
Football player.
Veteran and coach. Mwangi Muthui. Okay. Richard Omwela. Now both Richard Omwela and Mwangi Muthui were stalwarts in the support of the progression of rugby in this particular country for a long time.
Yes.
And they both chaired the body, the Kenya Rugby Football Union Association. They chaired it at some point or the other. So you cannot look at this and say, well, these people know nothing about sports.
So it's people who have excelled in sports.
People who have actually been part of that structure and the living body of sports in this country.
Yes.
So you cannot say they don't understand sports.
Caretaker
Or the management of it.
Or the management of it.
No.
Or what's needed
No.
to bring, to raise the profile of the sport.
Yes.
Dr. JJ Masiga played for Kenya.
Played football as well as rugby.
And rugby.
Yes.
For many years.
Yes.
Bobby Ogola has been...
Well, played for Kenya for many years.
And has also managed.
And he's a coach. He's also managed the
Yes.
team. He's always managed the team, yes.
So when you look at this and then you think, okay, so they have a mandate, they're coming in with a mandate, there's what they're supposed to do, they are going to sort out our issues. It's not the first time that we have seen this kind of thing happening in football in this country.
No,
The sports minister comes and says FKF or FKFF as it used to be then, go home, let's have somebody else.
Oh no, we've seen it before. We've seen it before. And the reactions we're seeing from the other football governing bodies are also not new.
They're not new.
No, they're not new. Somehow along the line, when you head a football union in this country or an association, you're automatically part of those associations. So you know the other big wigs in the other associations.
Yep.
And the question I wonder is, why is it that the reactions are almost predictable?
You always know what's going to happen. So, for example, FIFA has released a statement today and where they say, we refer to the press statement delivered today by the Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Sports of Kenya, Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohamed, according to which it was explained that an inspection of the FKF was undertaken in the past 2 weeks by the Registrar of Sports under the Cabinet Secretary's directive pursuant to Kenyan laws. As a result, it's understood that a report was delivered to the Cabinet Secretary, and it was referring to a list of recommendations based on the aforementioned. We take note that the Cabinet Secretary decided today to appoint an FKF caretaker committee comprised of 15 members and accompanied by a secretariat of 12 individuals for 6 months to, this is the mandate, conduct FKF's affairs, ensure FKF's compliance with the 2013 Kenyan Sports Act, coordinate and ensure running FKF's operations, including team preparation of local and international sporting events, coordinate FKF's elections based on the 2013 Kenya Sports Act, and finally hand over FKF to newly elected officials. So basically, the job of this caretaker committee is make sure that Nick Mwendwa does not access office for the next foreseeable future until elections are held, and if Nick is elected again, sawa. But we must have an election again, according to the law. FIFA says, first and foremost, would like to address our concern with respect to the abrupt announcement of the aforementioned decision taken by the Cabinet Secretary. As a matter of fact, FIFA says, we deem fit to highlight that all FIFA member associations, including the FKF, are statutorily required to manage their affairs independently and without undue influence of any third parties. Any failure to these obligations may lead to sanctions provided for in the FIFA statutes, even if the third-party influence were not the fault of the member association concerned. In other words, we consider that the aforementioned decision by the Cabinet Secretary to appoint an FKF caretaker committee in lieu of the elected FKF Executive Committee is undoubtedly contrary to the above principles. Should this be considered as undue government interference, here government being a third party, in the internal affairs of the FKF, it could lead to a ban imposed on the FKF by the components of FIFA body. In such a case, all of Kenyan football would suffer the consequences, and not just the individuals directly involved in the undue interference. In actuality, it's up to FIFA alone, on the basis of serious and well-founded information, as well as under serious exceptional circumstances, to order the dismissal of executive bodies of members' associations, followed by the appointment of a normalization committee. Therefore, we kindly, and not so kindly, ask you to inform the Cabinet Secretary that the event her decision to appoint an FKF caretaker committee and correlated secretariat was to be upheld, would have no other choice than to submit to present a matter to the Bureau of FIFA for consideration and decision. Finally, as referred to in the Cabinet Secretary's letter, we would like to emphasize on our willingness to hold a meeting with the FKF and the Ministry of Sports as soon as possible so as to address these issues. In other words, FIFA is saying FKF is an affiliate of FIFA. FKF, we let it to run independently. And we also guarantee that it should not be interfered with in any way whatsoever by any other body. If you wanted to do anything to FKF, you should have come to FIFA. FIFA could have appointed a team to investigate. If there were issues of concern, we could have put in a caretaker committee ourselves. But you deciding on yourself as a government, you are a third party to interfere in any way with FKF, we are going to ban football altogether in Kenya. Now, this is not the first time. Previous attempts have faced the same kind of stuff. Sanctions. Kenya therefore cannot participate in African Confederation Cup, cannot participate in any qualifiers for the World Cup. Cannot participate in any FIFA-affiliated sporting event.
So it's a club.
Basically, FIFA are saying, you touch FKF, we bring the whole house down.
Do you remember the time when we had this big tussle between which governing body ought to govern football in Kenya? Remember that one?
Yes.
There was this faction and there was the other faction. Somehow the drama around football just does not cease. Okay? But if you look at what the CS for Health has done, first of all...
Sport.
What did I say?
Health.
It tells you where my mind is. Okay? If you look at the committee that has been set, okay, and who heads it and the personalities involved, you cannot look at that list and say it's ill thought out. Then you look at the secretariat. The one thing that this secretariat has are journalists. The person supposed to head the secretariat, Linda Gutu, journalist. Okay? If you look at Robin Tosken, journalist. All I'm saying is, and then you look at the other individuals, people with a background in sports, you look at Edward Rombo. Okay? All I'm trying to say is this, Somebody has gone and thought this thing through. They didn't sort of like wake up and just rush to do it.
Yeah.
But usually that is besides the point. It's besides the point because football has serious vested interest. And I have to ask, is it just football?
Sports.
It's football I'm referring to. Why football? But to be fair, sports. But why football? This amount of energy, this amount of fluff, this amount of dust. Why?
The money involved.
It's a lot.
Some serious money.
Cool.
You see, FKF gets money from FIFA, just like you're seeing in this report. So you get money for the development of sport in your country, okay? We have talked about this many times, even when we were talking with Robin Toskin, and he was telling us some money comes from FIFA for development of sport in the country. It goes, of course, through FKF. FKF will say, we've gone to Kasarani, we're supposed to be developing a youth sporting program. We're going to across the country, we're developing youth sporting programs. There's money that has come from FIFA that is supposed to be developing some training facilities at Kasarani. And people say that you will see the structure, but there's nothing else. And this is the days before even Nick Mwendwa.
It's been there. No. Nick Mwendwa has just entered a space that has been littered with sort of things long before his time.
Yes.
Even probably from the time when he himself was probably a young lad.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's always the same. And every time there's a lot of pressure from the citizens on the government seems to take action. Then FIFA comes in and says, no. Where was FIFA when Kenyans were complaining about what's the state of our football?
And we've been complaining.
Yes. We were beaten by Uganda. What's the state of our football?
I mean,
our keeper can't even hold a ball. What's the state of our football? Ball comes to keeper's hands. Ball leaves keeper's hands.
Yes.
Into striker's feet.
Yes.
Striker scores.
Yes.
What's the state of our football if we can't even hold the ball?
It's happened before. We've even had situations where goalkeeper kicks ball to oncoming forward player. Oncoming forward receives the ball with gladness and kicks it into the net. Eric, but
status of our football.
But there's something I'm trying to get at here. The parody of it notwithstanding, what I'm trying to get at here is other countries in the world where the management of football is a success, what do they do? Because they have the equivalent of KFF. So here KFF is everything. They receive money, they manage, they need, and clearly something's wrong. Look at motorsports. Motorsport seems to fare better.
Yep.
Why does it fare better? Because it also gets money.
Yep.
Why does it fare better? What is done in motorsports that ensures that what ought to be done is actually done?
Leadership.
Yes, because what is certain, what is absolutely certain, is that money going to KFF to run the affairs, that thing will not work. It doesn't matter what one says. So, who are these intermediaries that come into play? Who are the professionals that come in to actually do what needs to be done with the money? So that KFF is left to do what it's supposed to do and not something that is clearly incapable of doing. Because it can't be the same story over and over and over
There's
and over again.
Serious interference with the way our sport is being managed. And this serious interference is with that, because of that guarantee, that should anyone raise a question, we are going to threaten with a ban. And that's what we want to ask this morning. Should we not just tell FIFA to ban us? Should we actually tell FIFA that we are banning ourselves from football for 2 years?
Yes.
We sort ourselves out, and then we can have a conversation.
And we can apply and we can see what else.
Yes. We tell FIFA, it's okay. We must address this particular issue of football in this country. And we agree, FIFA, we will be out for 2 years, 3 years.
It's okay.
It's okay. The support that you've been giving us, it's okay. You can withdraw the support and you can withhold the support for that time. But we need ourselves here. We need to sort ourselves.
We need to organize this thing.
We need to reorganize ourselves. Is it about time that we did that? Let's open up the phone lines for you to call in 0719-012-600. Let's hear what you think. I mean, what is the future? Now, Cabinet Secretary for Sport comes in and says, all right, there's been a lot of misappropriation of funds at FKF.
Really?
And for that reason, I want to appoint a caretaker committee that will organize elections, that will see that there's a new team that comes in at FKF, and hopefully that new team manages sports better. In the meantime, as that is happening, FIFA hears of it. FIFA says, oh, we hear there was a press conference and your CS was talking about this, and the other. May we remind you that we are the Lord of the Ring.
Yep, we understand.
And
we certainly understand.
If you interfere with football in any way, it's against our statutes.
Then we have to ask FIFA also. I mean, we know the problems you have had as FIFA. We've had your president and people who are in the leadership having problems that are similar to the leadership that we have in KFF, the problems that our leadership have in KFF.
Yes.
The African Federation, that is the football affiliation to FIFA. Yes. The leadership there has had similar problems.
Yes.
So are we saying that perhaps we ought to look at this problem and realize the problems don't come from Kenya, that they come from FIFA, cascade to the equivalent of the African Federation, the CAF, and then comes, come on, for heaven's sake, there is a problem even in FIFA.
Even you people
there is
know
a problem.
It. Even you people know it.
Yes.
One of our good producers in SpiceFM and Vibes Radio is a man called Steve. Steve is even a columnist in the Standard newspaper, writes about sport and all. We'll see if we can get him on the line or to come into the studio to contribute to this conversation.
Because he's somebody who's fairly well informed
He
about
knows
this.
all these things. He has a history at the back of his hand. Juma is in Mombasa. He wants to contribute. Good morning, Juma.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, Eric, let me remind you, I'm not reminding you, but I'm sure you know this. The problem we have in Kenya with the old leaders, sports, political leaders, their arrogance is just too much. We don't have integrity. You can imagine if a football president in England would be implicated like Nick Mwendwa, you can imagine what he will do. The first thing he will do, because he or she has respect for that office, he will step down to pave way for investigation.
Yes.
The question we are asking, if they know they haven't done anything wrong, why are they clinging to those offices? What are they hiding? What are they up to? They are clinging to those offices because they know the rot they want to cover up. And the FIFA is not doing us a favor. This is telling us that the government should not interfere with football. To us, doesn't help us. Are they trying to tell us that we should allow our football levels to continue going down at the expense of complying with the rules, with FIFA rules? What I'm saying is, as Kenyans who love football, people who have lived in this country for so many years who love football, should offer that ban, even 5 years, so that we can fix up this thing once and for all.
So what do you think? So we walk out of FIFA for a while.
We walk out on FIFA for a while because allowing these guys to continue staying in this stage will make them become more arrogant. They'll continue stealing.
Yeah.
Our boys are not going to. The talent of our boys are going to go down. There's nothing that will continue moving on well. Our football. If you look at the FIFA ranking, Kenya has gone down. And we want to be there. We want to go up the top 7 so that our boys can get opportunities in those big clubs in Europe there. Now, how will I achieve that if we have these corrupt leaders enough?
That's
It's
true.
not possible.
That's true. Thank you very much, Juma. 0719-012-600. Let's hear from you. What is the solution for football in the country? So FIFA has threatened to ban us because of the action that was taken by the Cabinet Secretary for Sport, Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohammed, yesterday in removing Nick Mwendwa and his team and appointing a caretaker committee and a secretariat to take us towards fresh elections for FKF. What is the way forward for football in the country? Should we just decide to sever ties with FIFA for a while, sort ourselves out and then come back? Let's take this break, take a look at the weather and traffic. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
Stacey, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
a bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, Nairobi, the sun is out, but yes, that's how it's going to be. Temperatures are going to rise to 27 degrees in Nairobi today. Mostly cloudy day. Mombasa, sunny day at 32. Nakuru, 19 degrees presently. Mostly sunny day, rising to 28. Nyeri, cloudy day at 25. Malindi, light rains at 31. Kisumu, partly sunny day at 31. And in Eldoret, partly sunny day at 25. Kakamega, partly sunny day at 29. In Kampala, Uganda, partly sunny day at 29 as well. In Dar es Salaam, light rains at 32. Johannesburg, mostly sunny day at 28. Lagos, Nigeria, mostly sunny day at 31. And Kinshasa, light rains at 33. Paris, France, it's a foggy day today. Highs of 13 and lows of 1. New York, cloudy day, 18 and lows of 9. London, mostly clear skies at 15. And that's it. And yes, Beijing, sunny day at 15.
Spice FM, Malindi.
There's somebody called Daudi Kamjoro who has just said, "I will keep this short. Whoever designed this along Gong Road is a complete and monumental moron." And this is, see the Gong Road, you just go and find the road is now branching. Now this is... You don't know where you are. So you find yourself just going on top of road curbs. So
it's crazy.
That is what he's complaining about. So what's the situation like now in the CBD? It was bad earlier. Yes, it's still the same. Moranga Road coming into the town along the Great Globe roundabout, it's still very, very bad. Haile Selassie Avenue getting into town from up Ngong Road is still crazy. Wayaki Way getting into town as well is crazy. Uhuru Highway, all sides is all jam-packed. And Kiambu Road has now eased off. The traffic is now only at Pangani. Getting off onto Wangari Maathai is not so bad at all. Langata Road is the one that was also looking very bad. Now, the traffic is only at around Airport View Estate coming down towards Raila Odinga Way. Mombasa Road, heading towards town, after City Cabanas, after Enterprise Road turnoff, is not looking so good. It's slow. Be patient. It's that time of the day when these things happen. Nothing major to report as a cause of traffic. Good morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
It's 27
Spice
minutes to
FM,
10. The
Nairobi.
conversation continues in the Situation Room. Eric Latiff and CT Muga. We're now joined by Steve Njuguna, one of the producers at SpiceFM, who is also a sports enthusiast and a sports journalist with columns on standard media platforms and elsewhere. Steve, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
There's, action taken by the CS yesterday.
Yes.
The reaction by FIFA.
Yes.
We expected that reaction from FIFA. Even the CS knew.
Yes.
The moment I start an investigation into FKF, FIFA is going to react.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
They're going to do a fifth.
Yes.
It's actually a clause that's very clear in the FIFA articles about government interference. It's something they take very seriously. And a country not very many kilometers from ours, Chad, which I think should be northwest of us.
Mm-hmm.
It is northwest.
Yes. Recently was also sanctioned for the same, among others. So it's not something that is to be taken lightly, but also it's not something that does not have historical precedent here in this very country.
Yep.
If you look at the year 2006, Minor Commander was then the sports minister. KFF at that time. Right now we have FKF, but that time it was KFF. At that time, also had that whole, ministry versus federation wrangle, and the board was dissolved. And of course, a caretaker committee came in. Another FIFA ban. Then FIFA sent in a normalization committee. Within a few months, the ban was lifted. So I feel like perhaps if I was to venture forth an opinion, I'd see maybe the Ministry of Sports have seen this is probably what will happen.
So let's start the process.
And the tone or the language in the FIFA press release seems to suggest the same, because FIFA has reiterated their willingness
to send a normalization
to mediate between these two parties. Other people, of course, in the cyberspace were saying there were even talks of the mediations being in a neutral ground. So we'll just have to wait.
Let's
and see
look
this
at
one.
2006.
Yes.
When similar action was taken.
Yes.
And FIFA did the FIFA thing.
Yes.
And then they sent in that normalization committee.
Yes.
Was it part of government negotiations and government saying, okay, well, now we understand? So FIFA first of all it brings in the ban.
Yes.
So that they have the upper hand,
Yes.
and then now forces government to a conversation and says, "Can we talk?" And the only way we're going to talk is let's follow our statutes. We're going to bring in a normalization committee. What happened to Minor Commander's caretaker team?
In fact, in the language, or rather, if you read the press from that time, you can see that the FIFA were very, very clear in saying that the government has promised not to interfere again.
Yes.
So it's the case of let's go. We'd rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. I think that's the approach the government used then, and is probably using now. But also, I think if you look at FIFA in itself, the house itself is not. They're not the moral authority they used to be in the past. You've seen the likes of former chiefs Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini have been recently indicted. So there's also that angle people are coming from, where they're like, okay, FIFA yourself, you've shown your senior officials are corrupt.
Yep.
So, of course, as much as you're coming to enforce one of your statutes, you're coming as who? With what authority?
If I was saying earlier on, Steve, that
Yes.
even the federation that manages football in Africa,
Yes, CAF.
they have had issues also.
Yes. FIFA had issues with their former president, and even at some point, one of the FIFA secretary generals, Fatma Samura,
Yes.
also formed some sort of also caretaker committee there
Yes.
to deal with the issues there. So we can say football globally is a confused house, but we are now the devolved unit. And for us, I think there was a sort of inevitability that it would come to this moment.
What I'm just sitting here concerned about is the history, what happened in 2006 and where we are now, right? Same thing. So Amina Mohammed forms a caretaker committee, forms a secretariat, and then FIFA does impose a ban on us, and FIFA arm twists us to play the game according to them.
But also,
they bring their own normalization committee. They come and do, they whitewash one or two things, and then they oversee an election. They go away.
But part of that committee's mandate actually is also auditing the past FKF bodies. I think also one of the things that FIFA right now, especially with all the heat that is under them, will be very careful to do will be, okay, as much as you've interfered, in FIFA in football issues, your football had an issue, so we also have to do the necessary audits, because at the end of the day, the main allegation that is being put forth by the Ministry of Sports is misappropriation of
FIFA
funds they also provided. For example, I think the way they tend to devolve money in terms of football or other sports is the federation uses half, FIFA gives half. I'll give an example with I think we were having a chat about football allowances by our players some time back at another forum. 1,500 per player per day, but 750 comes from FKF, 750 comes from
FIFA.
Ministry of Sports. You'll find like the federation can go to the ministry and tell them, we are supposed to host Ethiopia here, we are supposed to pay for hotels, referees, we are supposed to pay for the stadium. We have this amount of money, we need you to top up this amount. Before at the beginning of the financial year, all federations are supposed to give the Ministry of Sports their budgets. This is the events we are trying to do, and so it is within the Ministry of Sports to audit
the money that
they've given them. And in that respect, they are not wrong. But now, that is interference.
So Steve, where are they wrong?
Because the statutes of FIFA.
According to FIFA, that can be construed as interference.
So how I mean, I'm asking because it's, FIFA and our federation have an association.
Yes.
But do they then suggest that the government, through its Ministry of Sports, cannot have any say in the governing of a sport in their own country?
You know why they put that statute in the first place? Because of what used to happen in the past. Countries, governments used to use football as means to enforce or to do their own political things.
And have they stopped?
Well, they haven't, but they're doing it in a manner that
been
is
reduced now.
The federations
that FIFA can accommodate.
Yes, FIFA can accommodate, but also let me be the devil's advocate here. Let me play for FIFA a bit. FIFA have managed to make their federations a bit autonomous by the fact that they give them a substantial amount of money, every federation. Because of course, FIFA is one of the sporting bodies that make the most amount of money per year from all those TV rights, big events, World Cups and all of those. Everybody gets a share. So that kind of empowers them. If you went and told FIFA as a federation president, I need stadiums, I want to build stadiums, and this rather stadia, to be grammatically correct, and these 3 stadia cost 200 million each, they would say, we can even give you 300 million for all 3 of them. Then you look for the balance. You go and look for the balance. So they have that type of financial power to make their units autonomous. But in most cases, that also, lines up the coffers of most of the people who are in charge.
Of course.
Because there's a lot of money in football.
Because FIFA itself is a political body.
Exactly.
It is
and the people
highly politicized.
Yes.
The people who are electing the leaders are these people in these federations.
Yes.
So essentially what we're saying that at some level, what you're referring to as autonomy
yes,
is FIFA also wanting to muscle and find a space in which they themselves can have a big say. And they're calling it autonomy that they're actually giving to the other federations.
It's FIFA,
and they're flexing
establishing its own power.
Exactly. They're flexing their muscles. That's what I wanted to push, because they're telling you, we are giving this amount of money to you as a federation, which will boil down to your country and your economy. But if you interfere with our people,
we will yank
that out of. And also, there are a lot of demerits to a FIFA ban. I've had some of the listeners calling in and saying we'd rather get a ban and sort ourselves out. It's not as easy as ABCD, because the actual main stakeholders of football in Kenya, who are the players and the coaches, will suffer immensely.
How?
If you have a FIFA ban, you cannot do what we do, which is a league. Those leagues, official national league, you cannot participate in continental competitions.
Okay.
In essence, whatever you will be doing...
But we cannot run our own league.
You can run your own league, but according to everybody else, it will be like a village tournament.
That's fine. Okay.
Now, your top team, which has a right to go and compete continentally with other teams, will not be able to do so.
Okay.
You'll not be able to negotiate on things like TV rights with FIFA entities.
Right.
Meaning, broadcasters who are licensed by FIFA cannot touch your product.
Yep.
The reverse effect comes this to players. Your players won't get the necessary exposure.
Right.
They won't be able to get moves abroad.
Okay.
There are so many things tied
So
to that
all
FIFA
those
ban.
things that you've said, show
Yes.
us the benefits that we've had in the last 3 years in all those things.
Oh, I
Number
will.
one, so we've had local leagues, and then our teams, Gor Mahia and our Harambee Stars, have played in Continental.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Now,
beyond that,
them playing continental means players can be seen at
So
a
there's
larger...
exposure.
There's a lot of exposure.
Mhm.
Exposure leads to players leaving Kenya and getting better deals abroad.
how many have we seen leave in the last 3 years?
There's so many. You look at our national team right now. Maybe 5-10 years ago, you'd find the bulk of the national team would be local based.
Yeah.
But right now, you find even those who are not playing outside Africa, they're playing in
They're
other
playing
more
in Africa.
competitive leagues like South Africa, Zambia, Egypt. You know, where they're actually professional footballers. Here they are more semi-pro because unapata mchezaji is being paid something like 40,000 Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
And it's not even being paid on time. So they have to look for another job. So they manage to go professional, and they can't do that without the exposure that they get from media, and of course from the games being shown. It's like right now, Eric, you know Gor Mahia, you most likely you probably know a Gor Mahia or an AFC Leopards player. But if there's a player playing for Shamahoho Spartans in Shamahoho, who is still a very talented player, you won't know of him. Why will you know the Gor and the FC player and not the Shamahoho one?
Because of the exposure that they get.
Exactly.
Yes, in the leagues.
So that's the same principle. You find even nobody can now do those abroad transfers. You can't take a player from Kenya and take him to Sweden. You can't take a player from Kenya and take him to Spain. Or
So
China.
a Kenyan player, if
Under
you were
that ban,
banned,
under that
if
ban.
you were banned, even if, let's say, a team just decided to send a scout,
Yes.
a scout from a league in the UK cannot
Yes.
come. Premier League.
Now, for you to be cleared to play for a club outside Kenya,
You have to
you have
be
to get
FIFA.
something called an international transfer certificate that is given by FIFA through the federation, which is FKF.
Okay.
So if you're banned by FIFA and if your FKF is dissolved, who is issuing that?
So how then do we sort out Kenyan football? Because FIFA does not want us to interfere
And
with the money that we've given to FKF. We even so, by the time we were having elections, the last elections for FKF were just shambolic.
Were they not absolutely and totally chaotic?
How do we sort out our football?
They always are. I think the easiest way to sort out our football is what FIFA is suggesting.
Which is?
Which is mediation. Because at the end of the day, the characters in all of this, the characters in our football currently, it's a revolving circle. They don't seem to change.
Look.
And they can only change through, a whole shift in the elective process.
Steve, it's not as though we're absolving the ministry from malpractice themselves. They themselves have participated wonderfully in bringing disrepute to many sports. So it's not that they're being excused from this.
Yes.
But we have a problem in that we have a sport that people love.
Yes.
We have talent.
Yes.
And we are more involved in the politics and the quagmire and the nonsense around it rather than the things that ought to make it not just better as a sport, but better for the people of this
everybody.
country.
Yes.
And FKF seem incapable. No, sorry. Allow me. I withdraw that statement. FKF have proved they're incapable of doing this very thing that is required.
Well, what has to happen is FIFA, because they're the ones who've come out and they've said, you've interfered here. And the ministry are coming out and saying, these guys can't account for their monies. And both are right in one way or another. Now, they have to look for something that suits the common good. For me, I would think that FIFA itself would have to do their own investigation into FKF that is not tied in any way into the Ministry of Sports, because they also have given FKF money. And at the end of the day, you can also see this as some sort of would I say it's good timing, because also FIFA themselves are doing a lot of audits on their own top brass. So why why shouldn't they also delve into the FKF? Because at the end of the day, they would also want the money they're sending to be used in a proper manner.
No, they don't. If they wanted so, they're the ones who would have initiated all these audits that we're talking about. They would have initiated them. If they wanted to make sure that they have proper audits and accountability for all the monies that they've given, this is not. would have heard of FIFA being in the country many years ago and saying, okay, now we have established that the money
But
that
you
we
know,
send.
they wouldn't necessarily have that flag raised if the ministry wouldn't have said something.
Exactly.
Now they have a reason to do it. At
Why
the
did-
other time,
why would they
Must
have
they
not?
wait for the ministry to raise a red flag for them to have a reason? I mean,
If they are really interested,
Yes.
and like you say, they give a substantial amount of support to Kenyan football.
Yes.
If they were really interested in knowing and supporting Kenyan football and the way our local federation is being managed, they'd have done all those things. Why haven't they done that?
well, of course, the easy answer, as I said earlier, is it's politics. FIFA need a delegate, or rather, the current FIFA president needs a vote when he's being voted in, and of course, FKF is a delegate during the voting process. But also, at the end of the day, when things are exposed, now you have to act like you have to be some sort of a busybody. You have to now show that you're working. So the Ministry of Sports has given them an excuse.
Steve, the unfortunate thing...
It's a whitewash. It's like what we're seeing at KEMSA. It's a good reason for us to come and appear like we're checking things, appoint a new board, have a new management,
Sending everybody home.
send everybody
Hey.
home.
Yeah.
You come back, same thing.
But Steve, you
Yes.
see, FIFA is in an unfortunate position.
Yes.
And the unfortunate position is that football is not the only sport we have in this country.
Yes.
And we can point to sports that are actually well managed.
Yes.
And you see government contribution.
Yes.
And it isn't called interference.
But which of those sports give the same amount of financial power to their respective federations?
Oh, no. I am not going into the amounts of money that they gave. Each sport is important in its own way. Each sport has money.
Yes.
Each sport gives money.
But
and when they give their money, somehow they seem to be able to understand. Let's talk about motorsports, for instance.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Do you hear these complaints as often as we do in football and motorsports? Do you hear of it?
Not necessarily.
It's a
we
sport.
don't, yeah.
It has money,
Yes.
not like FIFA.
Yes.
Okay? Why is that? All I'm trying to say is this.
Yes.
A line has to be drawn somewhere. This football is taking place in this country. This FKF is a Kenyan federation.
Yes.
The government gives it money. The government
The Sports Act is a Kenyan law.
Exactly. The Kenyan government has a position to maintain, and they can very well tell you what they think they ought to do. If they have given you money and they think you're not managing it well, the CS is within her right to take certain steps.
Nobody is denying that. Nobody is denying that.
But I
fact.
get the impression that is being denied here.
No, I'm not denying that. But I'm also saying, based on what FIFA are doing in other countries,
Yes.
and globally, this is not something that's isolated to Kenya. And those statutes are not isolated to Kenya. The Ministry of Sports knew that would be triggered once they did what they did.
Yes.
So whatever their game plan is must involve bringing FIFA in and having these talks. Personally, actually, as I was saying, I didn't expect the press release by FIFA to be that soft. I felt like it was very soft.
It was softer than you would
which to me kind of indicated that the Ministry of Sports had informed FIFA, or rather
There had been some
they had
backroom
been discussing
conversations.
this with FIFA. So I don't know. I think
So,
the only thing we
I
can
think
do
then
is
the
wait
quest-
and see.
The question then, Steve, would be, what should the Ministry of Sports approach that conversation table with FIFA with to make sure that what they intend, which is better management of Kenyan football, is actually realized? Because yes, we are going to have a conversation. We're going to sit around a table with FIFA and say, all right, FIFA, you've banned us. Maybe the ban will stay for 4 weeks. So let's work together, bring the caretaker, bring those. What demands should our government go to the table with?
They definitely should go with the numbers. They should go all guns blazing. They should say, we gave this federation 244 million for the facilitation of Harambee Stars' trip to the Africa Cup of Nations in 2019. This 244 million cannot be accounted for this and that and that. Some of the players are not saying they've gotten that type of money.
Yep.
They've not gotten this and this and that and that. They should go and lay bare all their allegations and say, this is why we have said that these guys are not fit to run
office.
football in the country. And from then onwards, because they are all the three parties are sitting in the same table, FKF can rebut if they are going to rebut, and FIFA can now have the final say on that. Because I believe that's probably also what happened in 2006.
In 2006.
Yes.
So FIFA will be the mediator here. So FKF, make your case. Government, make your case. And then let's see the best way and the best thing for football. No, it will be just the best thing for FIFA. But okay, the best thing for football in this particular case, this is how we go about it. What should we do? So number one is they go and say there's clear misappropriation of funds.
Yes.
And we don't think that these current office holders deserve to be in office.
Yes.
We need to have a new election.
Yes.
Is there any influence that the government can play on the candidates and how the elections are conducted and who then takes of us at FKF? Any political interference?
In the negotiating table,
yes.
in the negotiating table, I don't think that's something that Ministry of Sports will mention, because that will now be clear interference.
Direct
You
interference.
know, for them right now,
But
they
no,
can
in
still
terms of-
they
in
can
terms
still
of
go
saying-
to FIFA and
in
say,
terms of saying, let the people who are running into for office
Yes.
be people who have a certificate of good conduct, blah blah blah. Where now
Yes.
that's a vet that the government, it's a tool that the government has,
Yes.
to clear some people and to block some.
Although I saw the parliament yesterday abolished that,
The certificate of good.
But also, that said, if Ministry of Sports look like they have a clear person they want to give football to, that will work more in Nick Mwendwa's favor, because he'll be like, you see, he's trying to
They're trying
topple
to
the balance.
influence.
For them, they should go there and clearly just say it should be a scenario of which, like, let's say there are two kids fighting, they're now reporting kwa their father, daddy huyu amefanya hii na hii na hii na hii. It shouldn't be, I'm trying to replace this with that, because that now becomes clear, direct interference.
Yeah. But if it works to the benefit of FIFA and the leadership of FIFA at present, why not? It's negotiations that we are having here at this table. FIFA, what do you need? You need a team. I mean, a team that runs FKF and runs it well. Number one. Number two, politically, you need a delegate who works in your favor at this point. Those are not conversations that are happening overtly.
Yes.
They're conversations that
Those
are
are
happening
back channel
conversations
Yes.
that covertly. Like this person, we guarantee you that this person, if you allow that this person goes through, this is a vote for you.
But you know, there is no point at which in this whole conversation that FIFA will be predisposed to side with the
government.
Ministry of Sports. They will never be predisposed to
Why?
side with. As I said earlier, history has shown that, you know, when government interferes, it's usually for other reasons. Let me give you the most clear.
You know this word interference. Why is it government intervention is looked at as interference?
The most
the public
clear, let me
interest.
give you the
Yes.
most clear example. In the 70s, Argentina had a dictatorship. I forget the name. I think it was Jorge Videla. And at that time...
You're talking about the guy who was president?
Yes.
Called Pinochet.
No, that was
Chile.
Chile.
Sorry,
yes.
forgive me.
It was Jorge Videla. So Videla managed to get the 1978 World Cup hosted in Argentina. But at that World Cup, all the best players, all the best teams, Germany, Netherlands, Argentina at that time were not having their best squad. But they seemed to blitz through every game. They got to a semi-final. I think they were needing 5 goals to go through. They scored 6. They got to the final. The best player from the opposing side, the Netherlands, one of their key midfielders, he was held up for 1 hour before the game, being told you cannot play because you have a cast on your arm. It's against the law. So at the end of that whole process, FIFA were like, this is clear. There was some incentive. Some of the referees were told, you will not go back home if you don't play a certain game this way. And the instances like those and many others in that era, because that was an era of, you know, authoritarianism, led to FIFA having that type of statute there. They don't want government to be the ones
And
to
it
say,
makes sense.
this is what our football
However, I'm
will
sure,
go. Yeah.
Steve, it doesn't mean that there are times when the FIFA bosses themselves look at a local federation and a local government and they side with the government.
There's never a time. There's never a side.
Not directly, but where they come in and they know that for the interest of sport, for the interest of FIFA, the organization, because first and foremost,
unless it makes them
is
look bad.
FIFA, the organization.
Yes.
In interest of FIFA, the organization, whatever the government is saying makes sense more than whatever this.
That's when now they use flowery terms like mediation.
That's it. That's what I'm saying.
Because at the end of the day, if you make FIFA look bad, then you are a liability to them. Then they will find a way to get rid of you.
Yes.
But they need to find a way to do that without
Without
making it-
triggering and making the world,
yeah,
everybody
making
else
the
in the
world
world
think
see.
that governments can
Yes.
interfere with football, more or less.
So back channels, we can actually get a different team managing FKF.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm very nervous about how this whole thing will go. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, because it seems like everybody has a different game plan. Nobody really can tell what's going to happen. But we'll just wait and see.
Steve, this sounds to me like a dance, because the way you've explained it, this is a dance. The dancers know exactly what's going on. It's us who are figuring what are these dance moves, because they seem unfamiliar. And then some of them are to loud music, some of it to soft. But the dancers know exactly
They know
what
where
is going
they're
on.
heading.
And they even know why they started to that crescendo.
Yes.
And even the move that we're now seeing. So I'm going to sit back
It's
and
part
just,
of the dance.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit back and watch.
It's part of the
But
dance.
can you see? Do all the dancers have a different scenario of how they think it will end? But nobody really actually knows.
Okay, they do know. That's the point I'm trying to make. They,
They know
all
how-
know how it's going to end. What we're seeing, the dance is part of the negotiation. Okay, we know how it's going to end, but when it ends there, what do we really have?
Which position will I be?
Okay, exactly. That's what I'm seeing.
End of our conversation this week. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Asanteni sana for tuning in. Today's proverb as we conclude.
2 words. Muyu Ndu. Value addition in English. 4 words now as opposed to 2. Joy does not ache.
Joy does not ache. Let yours
see
not
no lie
ache.
there.
Have a lovely weekend, folks. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Lawyer Miguna's travel to the country has been dealt a blow today after the court ruled that he has not given evidence to show that the government issued a red alert against him. In a petition filed at the High Court of Kenya through lawyer Dr. John Haminwa, Miguna argued that the red alerts that the government issued have made it impossible for him to travel into the country. Attorney General Kihara Kariuki, Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo, Kenya Civil Aviation Authority Director General Gilbert Kibe, Kenya Airports Authority Acting Managing Director Alex Gitari, and Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i were listed as respondents in the petition. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony J. Blinken will visit Kenya, Nigeria, and Senegal from November 15th to 20th, underscoring the depth and breadth of relationships between the U.S. and African countries. During the visit, the Secretary will advance U.S.-Africa collaboration on shared global priorities, including ending the COVID-19 pandemic and building back to a more inclusive global economy, combating the climate crisis, revitalizing democracies, and advancing peace and security. Secretary Blinken will begin his trip in Nairobi, where he will meet with President Uhuru Kenyatta and Foreign Affairs CS Ambassador Rachel Omamo. Blinken and representatives of the Kenyan government will discuss shared interests as members of the UN Security Council, including addressing regional security issues such as Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan. To matters politics, and Deputy President William Ruto takes his campaigns to Kitui County today as he intensifies his campaigns ahead of next year's general election. The DP is expected in Mutomo and Ikutha, where he will lead an empowerment drive for border operators at 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. respectively. He will conclude his tour in Kanyangi town at Kanyangi AIC Church at 2 p.m. The Council of Bishops of the Catholic Church is accusing leaders of neglecting their responsibilities to serve the people and have resorted to campaigning for the upcoming general elections. The council also warned politicians against inciting Kenyans, saying that if they don't stop, the situation could plunge the nation into chaos. They also called on leaders to prioritize the needs of the people affected by the drought to save them from further losses. About 23 counties are facing drought as the government continues to provide food aid. And DCI detectives have arrested a couple believed to be part of a fake diamonds ring that has been defrauding unsuspecting victims. According to the DCI, the two, Peter Mboya and Redemptor Nduku, conned a Nairobi-based woman who works as a management consultant over 11 million shillings in a diamond scam. Crime research and serious crime detectives also recovered from the couple 19 million shillings in fake US dollars, which was concealed in a briefcase. This followed a report filed by the complainant after what was first appeared to be a lucrative deal. Death rates from COVID-19